Chapter 988. But he's sitting on a strange chair with wooden wheels. As he walks, he doesn't stand up. Instead, he moves the wooden wheels and slowly walks to the dining table. Mu Yen guesses it right away. This should be the only third brother that she hasn't seen yet, Chu Moli. Sure enough, as Big Brother Yun Ruhan said, third brother has a stubborn illness that makes it difficult for him to walk. Little sister, come, eat, eat. Qin Zhou sees Mu Yen and immediately greets her enthusiastically. Ling Yuma hugs Mu Yen and presses her to her seat. Little sister, this is the welcome banquet that we specially prepared for you. Quickly come and have a taste. How does it taste? As soon as Mu Yen sits down, a bowl of fragrant white rice is stuffed into her hands. Big brother Yun Ruhan, second brother Qin Zhou, and fourth sister Ling Yuma are all eagerly looking at her, waiting for her to taste it. Mu Yen can't accept this kind of hospitality. She can only taste the barbecue and drink the soup, but her eyes can't help but brighten. She doesn't know what kind of spirit beast this barbecue is from. The meat is delicious, and the cooking is just right. When she bites, the fragrance lingers in her lips and teeth, and a rich spiritual power flows into her body. This cooking skill is comparable to Di Ming Ju's. Moreover, this soup looks ordinary, but there are all kinds of spirit mushrooms and spirit vegetables in it. It's not obvious from the outside because the chef's cooking skills are very experienced, wrapping the fragrance of these spirit mushrooms and spirit vegetables in the soup. Only when it enters the mouth can you feel the sweetness that almost swallows your tongue. The taste is so good. Mu Yen can't help but exclaim, it's too much to say that it's a worldly delicacy. Second brother, did you make this? No, how could I make it? Qin Zhou repeatedly waves his hands. Just then, a feminine and mellow voice comes from the stove. At least you're sensible enough to taste the delicacies made by this concubine. As they speak, they see the graceful figure of a young girl coming out from behind the stove. It's the beautiful fifth brother Ling Yuxing with a head full of beaded hairpins. Wearing a pink apron, she leisurely walks out with the appearance of a noble lady. Pft, cough. Mu Yen chokes on the soup in her mouth. After a long while, she finds her voice. Fifth brother, this is the food you made? Ling Yuxing raises her eyebrows, her pink cheeks angry. What? You dislike it? And no. Mu Yen swallowed the food in her mouth and praised sincerely. Fifth senior brother, no, fifth senior sister, your culinary skills are really good. You're really good in the hall and in the kitchen. Junior sister admires you. She hears Mayan calling her fifth senior sister, and even praising her for going to the main hall and going to the kitchen. Ling Yuxing's face suddenly blossomed into a smile. He glanced sideways at Mu Yen, but his attitude became much more intimate. Humph, little girl, you only know how to speak flowery words. Let me tell you, the number one beauty of the Xiaoyao sect is junior martial uncle, and the number two beauty is me, Ling Yuxing. Don't even think about fighting me for her. Cough. Mu Yen coughed again, and said repeatedly, not snatching, absolutely not snatching. What second beauty? She didn't want this title at all, okay? Wait, why is fifth senior brother the second most beautiful woman? With fifth senior brother's looks and narcissism, he actually admitted that youngest martial uncle was better looking than him. What does this junior martial uncle look like? Ling Yuxing turned around and went back to clean up the stove. Mu Yen rubbed her nose. She really liked this fifth senior brother more and more. Chapter 989. She likes people who can cook delicious food the most. Mayan turns around and meets a pair of deep and serene eyes. Those eyes carry hidden curiosity and interest, as well as indifference as if it's none of his business. When Mayan's eyes meet, the other party immediately reveals a gentle and harmless smile. It's third brother Chumoli. Mayan frowns. She always feels that this third brother looks gentle on the outside, weak and harmless. Even his cultivation isn't high, but he inexplicably makes her feel a chill down her spine. Little sister, third, hurry up and eat, it's cold, it's cold. Chinjo's urging voice is heard, bringing Mayan back to her senses. Soon after, Mayan realizes that in the entire kitchen, only she and Chumoli are eating. Big brother, second brother, fourth sister, won't you all eat together? Ling Yuma swallows, we're not hungry. We already ate outside. Junior sister, this is your welcoming banquet. You and third senior brother should eat. Yes, little sister, you and third brother eat. Chinjo also swallows, pulling his line of sight away from the fragrant food. Your new, third brother's body is weak, we're fine, we're not hungry. Don't you need to call master to eat? Master let us put the medicine and fall asleep, no one will snatch it from you. Sixth sister, hurry up and eat. Luo Yuk shows a lovely smile, but her eyes don't dare to look at the fragrant and beautiful food. Mayan suddenly thinks of the impoverished Xiaoyao school. According to Luo Yu, they're so poor that they can't even eat for several months. And because they've basically abstained from eating, they don't need to eat, so they only have enough to prepare food for the weak third brother Chumoli. Now, there's her. Mayan wants Luo Yu to eat with her. But this youth, he's obviously drooling, yet he leaves all the delicious food for her. Even Ling Yuxing, who has been busy at the stove for more than an hour, hasn't sat down to eat a delicious meal. Mayan sighs softly, shares the priceless food with Chumoli, then gets up and returns to her room. It was as if the fragrance of the food still lingered in her mouth, making her body feel a strange warmth. The Xiaoyao sect was old and shabby, and there were only 9 people. But she wanted to stay here. Of course, she didn't want to starve and freeze with her fellow disciples. It seemed that he had to think of a way to make a living. Alchemy. Mu Yen writes alchemy on the grass in the space, then crosses it out. Although she had the cloud-born sea-forming technique, and although she knew alchemy, however, he could only refine elixirs below the 3rd grade. Not to mention the fact that a lot of rare and precious spirit herbs were needed to refine pills of the 3rd grade and above. More importantly, it required a cauldron that had the support of a talisman array. The problem is that she's penniless right now, and the cauldron was even brought over from the Yinwu continent. The last time he tried to concoct pills in the Mirror Moon mountain range, one of them exploded. Moreover, the pill recipes that she has on hand are only those that she has collected in the Yinwu continent. In the Yinwu continent, it can fetch a high price, but in the Shuzhen continent, there aren't many cultivators who would take a fancy to it. Cure. The Xiaoyao sect was located in the Tianxian mountain range, which was half a day's journey away from the nearest market. Even if he wanted to treat someone, he wouldn't be able to find a patient. Chapter 990. Ben Zun is too embarrassed to say that you're my master. TSK, try and find someone to say that I'm your master. Mayan has already seen how timid Qi Huang is. Except for Xiao Bao, the fat rabbit, and Cho, he simply doesn't dare to appear in front of anyone. Qi Huang's cheeks bulge out in anger. He grits his teeth and says, Ben Zun won't lower himself to the level of an ignorant little girl like you. But after a while, looking at Mayan's troubled appearance, he can't help but say, what's there to worry about? Just find a rich and overflowing family and rob them. Robbing the rich to help the poor, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Mayan's mouth twitches, this tool spirit is really becoming more and more human-like. He even knows how to rob the rich to help the poor. Mayan thinks for a whole night, but she still can't figure out how to increase the income of the Xiaoyao school. In the end, she falls asleep in the space. In a trance, she hears Xiaobao's soft call. Nyangqin, Nyangqin, I miss you so much. Mayan's tears suddenly rush up. Xiaobao, Nyangqin also misses you. Tell Nyangqin, where are you? Nyangqin will come to find you. No. Xiaobao shakes his head heavily, his handsome little face full of longing and determination. Xiaobao wants to become stronger. When Xiaobao becomes stronger, he will go find Nyangqin. Xiaobao wants to protect Nyangqin. Before his voice falls, Xiaobao's image becomes fainter and fainter. Mayan stretches out her hand, wanting to hold Xiaobao, but she only holds air. Xiaobao. The sound of crying is suddenly drowned in a wide and blazing embrace. Mayan looks up and is stunned to see the man's handsome and perfect face, Dimingju. Yen Yen. The man gently strokes her face, wiping away the tears on her face. Yen Yen, wait for me, I'll find you soon. Yen Yen, wait for me. Mayan suddenly opens her eyes and sits up on the grass. She touches her face, it's wet. Looking around, she finds that it's empty. There's no Dimingju or Xiaobao. She hooks up the corners of her lips, revealing a bitter smile. It turned out to be just a dream. That's right, she is now separated from Xiaobao and Dimingju. She can only see them in her dreams. Hey, you, why are you crying? Qi Huang carefully moved closer and looked at her face. A look of disgust and worry appeared on her beautiful face. I don't think I said anything to anger you last night, did I? Mayan gives him a sidelong glance. You still know that you anger me every day. Qi Huang stammered as he squatted beside her for a while. Finally, as if he had made up his mind about something, he handed out his sleeve. All right, don't cry. At most, I'll lend you my noble clothes to wipe your tears. Mu Yan. After Mu Yan got up, she decided to visit the Xiaoyao school first. Although the entire Xiaoyao sect is only this big, it's not an exaggeration to say that it's a complete view. Along the way, she passed by the training field at the back of the mountain. He saw second senior brother Qin Zhou facing a cliff that towered into the clouds. He was bombarding the cliff with his fists. With every strike, a huge rock would fall from above. Seeing Mayan, Qin Zhou immediately reveals a silly smile. Little junior sister, good morning. I'm warming up, do you want to join me? Mu Yan, she went around the back of the mountain and saw her fourth senior sister who was chasing a huge cloud python. Chapter 991. Even the miserable Mu Yan felt like shedding tears of sympathy for her. Only when the cloud python was completely smashed into minced meat did the fourth senior sister suddenly come to her senses. Oh no, I finally found lunch for junior sister, but I smashed it into minced meat again. Alas, it's already stained with mud, how can I eat it? The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. She finally understood that the people of the Xiaoyao school were all so strong, so how could they be so poor? If they weren't all weirdos, then they were all violent maniacs. They didn't even put the scraps of food in their hands. Entering the Xiaoyao school through the back door, Mu Yan saw her third senior brother Chu Moli sitting in a wheelchair. Chu Moli was dressed in blue clothes. He had a handsome appearance and a delicate figure. In front of him was a lake, a mountain, and a blue morning sun. Under the morning light, he was holding a paintbrush and drawing on an easel. He really looked like a dignified gentleman, an elegant scholar, which was incompatible with the violent and poor Xiaoyao school. As a result, Mu Yan quietly approached and saw Chu Moli's drawing. She was dumbfounded. She saw that there was no longer any white space on the drawing paper, only a glaring scarlet color. In the scarlet color, there were ferocious roars of ghost heads drilling out of the lava of hell. There were also the eerie white bones being gnawed by the ghost heads. As if he felt her approaching, Chumoli turned around and revealed a gentle smile. "Junior sister, what do you think of my drawing?" The veins on Mu Yan's forehead bulged. "I don't know how your drawing is, but I feel that you're a pervert. Facing such a beautiful lake and spring scenery, you can actually draw such a dark, treacherous, and bloody picture." She forced a smile. "It's very good." Chumoli's smile became more gentle and gentle. "Thank you for your praise, junior sister." Mu Yan shook her head and quickly retreated. Having seen Chumoli's perverseness, Mu Yan didn't feel surprised when she saw her fifth senior brother with light makeup. Instead, she felt even more cordial. "Fifth senior sister, good morning." Ling Yuxing raised her head from her embroidery, revealing a beautiful face. She rebuked, "Can't you see that I'm embroidering? If you suddenly make a sound, what if I ruin the Mandarin duck embroidery?" Mu Yan asked with interest, "What is fifth sister embroidering?" Ling Yuxing glanced at her, but still answered, "A Mandarin duck embroidered pouch. The embroidery is really beautiful." Mu Yan enviously looks at Ling Yuxing's slender and good-looking fingers, holding thin needles as they weave through the cloth. "I don't have this skill at all." "Fifth senior sister, you're so awesome." Her family Xiaobao's clothes were all torn in the beginning, so she directly bought new ones. Later on, when Xiaobao grew a little bigger, Xiaobao was the one who nourished him. She, as a mother, was really too incompetent. When Ling Yuxing heard her praising her skills, she immediately revealed a flowery smile. "Your mouth is so sweet. How about I give this pouch to you after I finish embroidering it?" "Really?" "Humph, of course it's true. When have I ever lied?" Satisfied, Mu Yan leaves. Ling Yuxing, however, stared at her back, unable to come back to his senses for a long time. He muttered, "Could it be that she really doesn't think that I'm an anomaly, a disgusting monster?" It only took Mu Yan 2 hours to stroll around the Xiaoyao school, as well as the front and back mountains. She wanted to find Luo Yu and ask her how she could make a living, so that the Xiaoyao school could get out of its destitute state. Chapter 992. Mu Yan glanced around and saw that the room was littered with crumpled yellow paper. And the brush in Luo Yu's hand is also very strange. The ink on the brush isn't black, but red. "Xiao Qi, what are you doing?" Mu Yan suddenly says, making Luo Yu's hand shake. A drop of red ink falls on the yellow paper. Luo Yu immediately cries out, "Oh, it's ruined again, boo-hoo." The young boy's face is full of worry, pulling his hair as if he wants to pull his scalp off. Seeing Mu Yan come in, he immediately pounces over and hugs her, begging for comfort. "Boo-hoo, sixth senior sister, I've been drawing for the whole morning, and I've only finished one. I originally wanted to draw a few more talismans so that I could exchange them for something delicious and have fifth senior brother make it for you." Mu Yan strokes the boy's head and comforts him for a while, then asks, "You're drawing talismans?" Luo Yu takes a finished talisman and hands it to Mu Yan like a treasure. "Little senior sister, look, this is the talisman I drew. It's a replenishing talisman that can instantly replenish a cultivator's spiritual aura. If it were to be sold on the market, it would be worth 3 low-grade crystals." Mu Yan takes the talisman and instantly remembers that day in the windless square. Luo Yu also gave her a talisman, saying that it could help her heal. Afterwards, Mu Yan also activated her spiritual power to test it, and found that after the talisman was ignited, it could indeed heal her external injuries. Although the effect was far inferior to the elixirs she refined, or even drafts. "That's a first-grade healing talisman that I drew." Luo Yu proudly puffs out her chest. That healing talisman is worth 5 low-grade crystals, but unfortunately, drawing it was too difficult. "I can't draw any of them now." Mu Yan looks at the talisman in her hand and checks it with her divine sense. She can't help but ask, is drawing talismans very difficult? Of course it's difficult. Luo Yu repeatedly shakes her head. Young martial uncle passed on the skill of drawing talismans to all of us, but only I barely managed to learn it. But even so, to draw a talisman requires all the spiritual power in my body. Sometimes, I can't draw it even if I exhaust all my spiritual power, and I can't draw it for the whole day. Mu Yan thoughtfully looks at the talisman in her hand. Luo Yu suddenly thought of something and said excitedly, "Sixth senior sister, do you want to learn how to draw talismans? How about I teach you? You're so smart and talented, maybe you can learn it." Mu Yan smiles and strokes his head, "Then I'll have to trouble Shao Qi." Luo Yu immediately smiled, revealing her two canine teeth and deep dimples. She grabbed Mu Yan and brought her to the table. "Sixth senior sister, look, the technique of drawing talismans is actually very simple. You just need to use cinnabar to draw the talisman patterns according to the different effects of the talisman. While drawing, you can attach your spiritual power to it. However, the difficulty in drawing talismans lay in the fact that the concentration of spiritual power needed to be attached to each different type of talisman, and each talisman pattern was different. If too much spiritual energy is attached to it, the talisman will burn. If too little spiritual energy is attached to it, or if it breaks, then even if the talisman is completed, it will only be a useless piece of paper." As Luo Yu spoke, she drew the talisman carefully. But along the way, there was a talisman that he used a little too much spiritual power on. The talisman paper immediately burned and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 993. Therefore, many cultivators will try to draw talismans. However, those who can draw talismans of 3rd grade and above are as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. It's because it's easy to learn how to draw talismans, but it's too difficult to specialize. I heard that in those big sects, there are some powerful talisman masters who can draw 3 talismans in 2 hours. Moreover, it's a grade 3 talisman. I really don't know how those monsters accomplished it. Luo Yu rambles on, then passes the brush to Mayan. "Sixth senior sister, try drawing. Just draw according to the talisman that junior uncle left for us. It's normal for you to not be able to control your spiritual power since it's your first time drawing talismans. Don't be discouraged if you fail. Back then, I wasted more than 50 pieces of talisman paper before I succeeded the first time." As for the other brothers, Luo Yu didn't dare to say anything. They directly burned hundreds of talismans until they angered youngest uncle. Only then did they give up bitterly. First, Mu Yan picks up the talisman drawn by the mysterious young martial uncle and examines it with her divine sense. She found that youngest uncle's talisman was much rounder than the spirit-replenishing talisman that Luo Yu had successfully drawn. The spiritual qi contained in it was also several times richer and purer. Mu Yan's divine sense roams through every rune of the talisman. She closes her eyes and memorizes the amount of spiritual power attached to these runes in her mind. Only when she was sure that she had memorized everything did she open her eyes and write on the yellow paper. "Little 7, I'm done." Luo Yu was pulling her hair, intending to draw the next one, when she suddenly heard Mu Yan's voice. He subconsciously comforted her, "Sixth senior sister, it's okay. It's okay if we fail. Let's paint a few more times." Luo Yu's voice comes to a screeching halt as Mayan hands him the talisman she has drawn. He held the talisman, which was clean but obviously contained spiritual power, and couldn't say a word for a long time. 6666, sixth senior sister. You succeeded. Mu Yan nods, "Yeah. How did you succeed?" "How do I succeed?" Mu Yan thought for a moment, "Just do it in one go, it's pretty simple." Pretty simple. Luo Yu's eyeballs were about to pop out. He subconsciously wanted to check the authenticity of the talisman in his hand, so he directly circulated his spiritual energy and activated it. The talisman paper burned, and in an instant, a rich spiritual power rushed into his body, instantly replenishing the spiritual power he had consumed to draw the talisman. Good heavens! This talisman was real. Moreover, the spiritual energy contained in this spirit-replenishing talisman far surpassed the talismans he drew. That was at least a second-rank spirit-replenishing talisman. Luo Yu stared dumbfounded at her empty hand. Then, she suddenly came to her senses and let out a scream. "Ah, I actually used the talisman. That's a second-grade replenishing spirit talisman. It's worth at least 10 low-grade crystal stones. It's enough for us to have a feast. Oh, is there something wrong with my brain?" Mu Yan patted the youth's head and chuckled, "If you use it, then use it. It's no big deal. Senior sister will draw it for you again." After saying that, under Luo Yu's incredulous gaze, Mu Yan picks up the cinnabar brush and takes a piece of talisman paper. The brush landed on the paper in one smooth motion. The second talisman was a success. Luo Yu's jaw almost dropped. Another success. Mu Yan's brush didn't stop, and she continued to draw a dozen or so talismans. Luo Yu swallowed, then swallowed again. Chapter 994. The key is, every one. Zhang. All. Yes. 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 Mu Yan slaps the talisman paper on Luo Yu's chest and says dotingly, "Here, burn it for fun. I'll draw as many as you burn." Luo Yu pressed down on the stack of talisman papers on her chest, her voice trembling. Sixth senior sister, drawing talismans consumes a lot of spiritual power. You drew so many, don't you need to rest? Does it consume a lot of spiritual power? Mu Yan uses her spiritual power to feel it, then says suspiciously, "I don't think so. It seems like not even 1% of my spiritual power has been consumed. This is not even as much as the spiritual power she used to refine the most common first-grade elixirs." Luo Yu stands still for a while, then suddenly rushes out of the room like a gust of wind. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother, fourth senior sister, fifth senior brother. Come quickly. We're rich. Ha 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 ha, from now on, we don't have to eat anymore. In the only meeting hall of the Xiaoyao school, all the people of the Xiaoyao school, except for the wandering little master, are all gathered together. Everyone's eyes move from the stack of talisman paper in Luo Yu's hand to Mu Yan, then from Mu Yan back to the stack of talisman paper. Ahem. Shirqing clears his throat. Yan, my good disciple, tell me, have you learned how to draw talismans before? Mu Yan shakes her head. No, Shaoqi just taught me. Today is my first time drawing talismans. Everyone in the meeting hall looks at each other and swallows their saliva. She can draw so well on her first time drawing talismans. She drew a dozen of them and didn't fail even once. Mu Yan can't help but say, "Are you sure that drawing talismans is difficult? Are you sure that my talismans can be exchanged for a lot of crystals? Isn't that obvious?" Fourth sister Leng Yuma is the first to slap the table. "If drawing talismans is not difficult, how could I have drawn 300 of them and not one succeeded?" Qin Zhou touches his head. I touched the talisman paper and it burns. Yun Ruhan said embarrassedly, "Every time I draw a talisman, I can't apply spiritual energy evenly to it. I've drawn more than 200 talismans, but I haven't succeeded in one." Ling Yuxing grunted coldly. "I'm not interested in doing something as crude as drawing talismans." Mayan nods. "I understand. In short, talismans are very valuable. If I draw a little more, we can improve our meals." As she spoke, she took out the talisman paper and cinnabar from her space and started drawing in front of everyone. While drawing, he said without raising his head, "Don't mind me, continue talking." The room was completely silent. Everyone stared at her dumbfoundedly. She didn't even hesitate for a moment and finished drawing a talisman in one go. Then, he casually tossed it aside and began to draw the second 1.00. "I've picked up a treasure, I've really picked up a treasure this time. Ha 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 ha." Shi Qing stroked his beard and laughed heartily. "Didn't I say that I had a discerning eye? I actually managed to recruit such a capable and treasured disciple." Luo Yu held the talisman paper that Mayan gave her and happily patted it on her chest. "How much spirit beast meat, spirit grains, and spirit vegetables can this be exchanged for? Just thinking about it makes me drool. Sell. Immediately sell these talismans." Ling Yuma said excitedly, "Eldest brother, let's go down the mountain and sell the talismans now." Chapter 995. Just then, Chu Moli opens his mouth. There are no flying artifacts in the sect, and it would take at least half a day to go to the market at the foot of the mountain to sell. Moreover, I'm afraid that it wouldn't be easy to find a shop that can buy so many talismans in that small market at the foot of the mountain. As soon as he said this, everyone present withered. The small market at the foot of the mountain indeed couldn't buy so many talismans, and the price might even be lowered because they didn't know the goods. But if they went to a big city, it would take at least 10 days to go back and forth. Wouldn't that mean that they would have to starve for more than 10 days? They were clearly guarding a mountain of crystals and treasures, yet they couldn't exchange it for meat. This feeling was really too painful. Chu Moli slowly said, "Did you forget that there is a place that can buy as many talismans as there are?" Everyone's gaze turns to Chu Moli. Even Mayan raises her head after drawing a talisman. Chu Moli faintly smiles, his deep gaze sweeping over Mayan, finally falling on Yun Ruhan. "Eldest senior brother should still have the Heavenly Light Ruins jade key that little senior brother left for you, right?" Heavenly Light Ruins, how could I forget about this place? Right, we can take the talismans to Heavenly Light Ruins to sell." "What do you mean by sell? Did you forget that little Marshal uncle left us a shop? We can directly go to that shop to sell it." "Oh, that shop still hasn't closed down." Cough, cough. Mayan coughs lightly, interrupting their excited words. "May I ask, what kind of place is Heavenly Light Ruins?" As soon as these words come out, everyone's gazes simultaneously turn to Mayan, their faces full of astonishment. "Little junior sister, you don't even know about Heavenly Light Ruins. Which deep mountain or wild forest did you come from?" "That can't be. Even if it's a deep mountain or wild forest, it's impossible not to have heard of Heavenly Light Ruins. In the Shuzhen continent, there's no one who doesn't know about Heavenly Light Ruins." Under the dim light, Chu Moli's eyes seem brighter than the others. So when he smiles now, it's a bit less warm, with a bit of morbid enthusiasm and excitement. "I also really want to know, where did little junior sister come from? You can casually draw a dozen talismans, but you haven't even heard of Tianguang Ruins." Mu Yan unhurriedly took out a piece of talisman paper, and said indifferently as she drew, "I've never heard of Tianguang Ruins because I'm not from the Shuzhen continent." The talisman inscription was completed in one go, and the talisman paper seemed to be flickering with white light. Mayan casually tosses it to the side, then raises her head and smiles. "Let me reintroduce myself to everyone. My name is Jun Mayan, I am an ascended cultivator from Yanwu continent." Tianguang Ruins was indeed a place that everyone in the cultivation continent knew about. It was a place even more magical than the small world of a tribulation stage cultivator. In a virtual trading world. No one knew where Tianguang Ruins came from or how long it would exist. However, it had become an indispensable existence in the entire cultivation continent. Anyone with a spirit root could enter the Skylight Ruins with their spirit consciousness as long as they had the jade key. Yun Ruhan hands an exquisite key-shaped jade tablet into Mayan's hand. Chapter 996. Mu Yan curiously took the jade key from the Tianguang ruins and looked at it. She found that the jade key was only half the size of a palm, but the runes carved on it were so complicated that she felt dizzy just by looking at it for a while. Yun Ruhan explained, "Don't be fooled by this jade key. It's indispensable for entering the Tianguang ruins and doing business there. There's a storage space in the jade key. Whether it's crystals, talismans, or other items, as long as you put them in the storage space of the jade key, it's the same as bringing them into the Tianguang ruins. You can directly trade with people there." Mu Yan used her divine sense to explore and found that there was indeed a storage space in the jade key. It was just that the space was not like other storage rings or Qinquan bags, which had a definite size. When she probed it with her divine sense, it was like entering a boundless black hole. So the things placed inside could be directly brought into the place called Tianguang Ruins. Was it really that magical? Yun Ruhan saw Mu Yan's curious look and couldn't help laughing. The storage space of the jade key is only 2 or 3 square meters, and not many things can be brought in. Whether the storage space can be expanded and how many things can be brought in is related to your popularity in the Tianguang ruins. Mu Yan asked curiously, "Popularity? What a new term." Yun Ruhan smiled. "In the Tianguang ruins, as long as you complete a transaction or do something sensational, your reputation will be spread, and your popularity will increase accordingly. The Tianguang ruins is divided into the upper 3 zones, the middle 3 zones, and the lower 3 zones. Once ordinary people enter, they will definitely be in the lower 3 zones. Only when their popularity has increased to a certain level can they qualify to enter the middle 3 zones and the upper 3 zones. The things sold in the lower 3 zones are usually the most ordinary, and the people there are all low-level cultivators. The higher the 3 zones, the rarer the things sold in the Tianguang ruins, and the higher the level of the cultivators. Even in the central zone of the upper 3 zones, you can meet tribulation cultivators." Mu Yan pondered. The Tianguang ruins mentioned by the eldest senior brother seemed to open a whole new world to her. She couldn't wait to go in and have a look. Mu Yan couldn't help but ask curiously, "Eldest senior brother, what's your popularity in the Tianguang ruins?" She had heard that the Xiaoyao sect had a shop in the lower 3 districts of the Tianguang ruins. To be able to open a shop, his popularity must be quite high, right? Hearing this, Yun Ruhan's resolute and handsome face instantly revealed an awkward expression. His wheat-colored skin couldn't hide his slightly red cheeks. "Well, our fellow disciples in the sect aren't good at managing. Although junior martial uncle left a shop for us, but I only have 5 popularity points. 4th junior sister and 5th junior brother, because they offended a client, their popularity is still in the negatives. They're practically blacklisted in Tianguang ruins." Cough cough. 5 points, a negative number. Mayan holds her forehead. This was no longer something that could be explained by poor management, right? No wonder the Xiaoyao sect was so poor. Yun Ruhan rummaged through the ground and took out 2 pieces of low-grade crystals, stuffing them into Mayan's hands. "Take these 2 crystals with you. Don't be too frugal if you need to spend them in the Tianguang ruins." Chapter 997. Come back and tell the senior brothers, and they will definitely avenge you. For the first time, Mayan finds that when her big senior brother starts nagging, he can talk endlessly like an old woman. But this kind of nagging doesn't make her feel the slightest bit disgusted. Instead, there's a kind of strange nostalgia and warmth. It reminds her of her brother, Shen Jinglin, who always treats her like a child. Mayan takes the jade key back to the house, locks the door, and directly enters the space. The space is quiet, Chi Huang and Little Phoenix are both sleeping. Mayan looks at the beautiful youth who is lying on his back, sleeping soundly, and there's a suspicious silver thread flowing down from the corners of his mouth. Little Phoenix, who has curled up into a ball, can't help but smile and shake his head. Her divine sense enters the jade key, and Mayan feels a powerful energy suddenly pouring into her body from the jade key. Soon after, her soul seems to be sucked into a boundless black hole. After a while, the dizziness of her soul being swallowed up disappears. Mayan opens her eyes, and a powerful energy that seems both familiar and strange hits her in the face. Immediately after, she hears a wooden and stiff voice that is neither male nor female. Welcome to the Shuzhen Continent's Tianguang ruins. You are number 9. XXXXX, visitor. Mu Yan looked around and found that she was floating in the void. Front, back, left, and right are like boundless black holes. And that stiff voice seems to come directly from her mind. Please choose your gender in Tianguang ruins. The wooden and stiff voice speaks again. Soon after, 3 balls of light appear in front of Mayan. The balls of light respectively write, male, female, neither male nor female. The corners of Mayan's mouth twitches. Are there really people who are neither male nor female in this world? She raises her hand and clicks on female. The moment she touches the ball of light, it disperses into starlight and disappears. Soon after, the wooden and mechanical voice speaks again. Please choose your age in Tianguang ruins. There's no ball of light this time, so Mayan directly asks, 20. There's a ding-dong sound, and the mechanical voice asks a third question. Please state the name you use in Tianguang ruins. The name I use in Tianguang ruins. Can I not use my real name in Tianguang ruins? Mayan mutters to herself. The mechanical voice seemed to have heard her question and immediately shot out a ball of light. The ball of light was densely packed with black words. Mu Yan reached out and gently touched it. Immediately, she felt countless information pouring into her mind. That was the rule of Tianguang ruins. First, Tianguang ruins was only a virtual trading and entertainment venue. Forced buying and selling were not allowed, and killing and fighting were not allowed. Anyone who violated this rule would have their divine sense erased and be expelled forever. Secondly, any visitor of Tianguang ruins was allowed to wear a mask and change their name, age, appearance, identity, and even gender. But once the information was selected, it would cost 1,000 low-grade crystals to change it. Thirdly, Tianguang ruins can also be used to authenticate your real name and help fellow Daoists become famous. However, all real name authentication was strictly prohibited. Otherwise, one would be blacklisted in the Tianguang ruins. Mu Yan looked through them one by one, only feeling that this Tianguang ruins was indescribably strange. Whether it was the wording of the rules and regulations or the words spoken by the mechanical voice, they were all incompatible with this world. Instead, it seemed more like the words in Bailey Liuin's notebook. However, looking at it this way, she felt that this Tianguang ruins was rather interesting. Not only was he allowed to change his age and name, he could even change his appearance. Chapter 998. Because she didn't answer for a long time, the robotic voice asked again, please state the name you use in Tianguang ruins. If you don't answer within the time limit, your name will be randomly selected as Chuihua family's pickled cabbage 1213. The veins on Mu Yan's forehead suddenly throbbed. Chuihua family's pickled cabbage 1213, what kind of damned name is this? Isn't it too unpleasant to hear? But she couldn't think of what name to give it at the moment. Watching the time slowly pass, the countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7 resounds in her mind. Mu Yan suddenly remembered that in Bailey Liuin's notes, he mentioned a person called Yi Liangqin, as if he was telling a joke. Especially that sentence, if you think you have the ability to play with me, Liangchen doesn't mind accompanying you to the end. It left a very deep impression on her. When Xiao Bao read it out, she laughed for a long time as a joke. Just then, the countdown reached 1, and the robotic voice made a final confirmation. Please confirm whether your name is Chuihua Family's Pickled Cabbage 1213. Mu Yan broke out in a cold sweat and promptly said, Yi Liangchen, my name in Tianguang Ruins is Yi Liangchen. There was a moment of silence in her mind, then she faintly heard a hurried robotic voice, matching words detected, beginning identity verification. After a long, beep sound, Mu Yan saw that the black hole around her seemed to be pulled by something and violently rotated. When Mu Yan was a little nervous, the voice rang out again. She didn't know why, but Mu Yan felt that there was a trace of excitement in the originally robotic and dull voice. Verification successful. Hello, first host. Please confirm again whether you want to use the name, Yi Liangchen. First host. Mu Yan was baffled. Wasn't she called a guest in the beginning? How did it suddenly become the first host? But she didn't think about it and directly said, confirm. Hee, although the name Yi Liangchen is very strange, it's still much better than Chuihua Family's Pickled Cabbage 1213. Host, please choose your appearance in Tianguang Ruins. Do you want to increase, or decrease? The minimum increase is 0% and the maximum is. Sorry, host, your appearance cannot be increased. The minimum decrease is 1%, and the maximum decrease is 200%. As soon as the mechanical voice falls, a huge mirror appears in front of Mu Yan. The mirror reflects Mayan's devastatingly beautiful face. Mayan doesn't even think about it and directly says, lower it by 100%. As soon as he finished speaking, the beautiful face in the mirror changed rapidly. The eyebrows were still the same eyebrows, the nose was still the same nose, and the mouth was still the same mouth. But with just a slight change in the distance of her laughter, she gradually changed from a beautiful and enchanting woman to a delicate and ordinary woman. Mu Yan looks at this face that is both like her and not like her. It's extremely rare. He walked around the mirror for a long time before he confirmed it with a smile. In the next moment, Mu Yan felt the world spin, and his entire body felt the weightlessness of falling from a high place. It was as if she could faintly hear that mechanical voice, carrying a trace of emotion, ringing in her ears. First host. Wake up soon. I await your return, Shushan Continent, Polar Domain. My lord, my lord. This old man has a way to let you see Miss June. Chapter 999. Di Mingju abruptly opens his eyes, his figure already appearing in front of Elder Chang in a flash. Speak. His expression is still grave and stern, and the voice that comes out is also calm. But just by looking at his clenched fists and the bulging veins on the back of his hands, one can see how agitated he is at the moment. Elder Chang takes a deep breath, then looks up and says, Tianguang Ruins. It's the Tianguang Ruins of the Shuzhen Continent. Tianguang Ruins? Di Mingju is slightly startled. But before he can speak, a person suddenly rushes in from outside the Soul Cultivation House. Jun Shang, Tianguang Ruins is the territory of the Nether Realm. How can you risk your life for a woman alone? Elder Chang, have you gone senile? The person who comes in is Xing Lang. At this time, he can no longer hide his disgust for Mayan. His whole person is like a wild beast that has passively invaded its territory, revealing a malevolent and fierce expression. However, the next moment, he meets Di Mingju's cold and gloomy eyes. Xing Lang quivers from head to toe, falling to his knees with a thud, his body trembling uncontrollably. Jun Shang, this subordinate has spoken rudely, I beg for your forgiveness. But this subordinate is only worried about your safety. You really can't go to Tianguang Ruins. As soon as you enter, the people of the Nether Realm will certainly be able to sense the fluctuations of your divine soul. If they strangle you in the Tianguang ruins. Thinking of such consequences, Xing Lang's eyes turn red. Once again, he wishes that he could dismember the woman who has disturbed Jun Shang's mind time and time again, even injuring Jun Shang, causing Jun Shang to put himself in danger. Elder Chang coughs lightly. This subordinate naturally knows that Tianguang ruins is the territory of the Nether Realm, so I didn't dare to raise such an idea at first. But now, the situation is different. Elder Chang raises his head, his face full of excitement and disbelief. Jun Shang, you also know that Tianguang ruins originally didn't belong to the Nether Realm. Before it belonged to the Nether Realm, it was far more powerful than it is now, and it is connected to even more karmic spacetime. If it was before, as long as Jun Shang's divine soul comes into contact with the Tianguang ruins, it would certainly be discovered by the people of the Nether Realm. However, I just discovered that there were some changes in the sky-light ruins of the cultivation continent. 2 karmic spacetime zones were opened. My lord, although you can't enter with your main body and primordial spirit, as long as I find a way to disguise you, and then pass through the 2 karmic spacetimes that the Netherworld realm can't control, you will definitely be able to return safely. Everyone knew that people from the cultivation continent would enter the Tianguang ruins. If Jun Shang enters Tianguang ruins, will you still be afraid of not being able to see Miss Jun? Oh, entering the Heavenlight ruins, which was the territory of the Nether Realm, would naturally be dangerous. But isn't it better than Jun Shang not caring about anything else and not waiting for his injuries to recover? Isn't it better than leaving the soul-nurturing house? Not to mention that the polar domain and the nether domain had been at peace for several hundred years. Elder Chang didn't believe that even if they found Jun Shang, they wouldn't have the guts to hurt him and start a war between the 2 regions. Star Wolf wanted to say something. But Di Mingju has already made his decision. Immediately prepare the jade key for Ben Jun. He would be able to see Yan Yan soon. Di Mingju's hand slightly tightens, his ice blue eyes brightening with a bright light. The Star Wolf gritted his teeth and could only retreat hatefully in the end. Chapter 1000. Di Mingju snorts. Ben Jun being able to charm Yan Yan, isn't that a matter of course? By the way, Jun Shang, this subordinate heard that when entering Tianguang ruins, you can also adjust your appearance. Would you like this subordinate to make you more handsome and more beautiful? Di Mingju sends a cold knife glare over. Ben Jun's appearance needs to be adjusted. No need, no need. Elder Chang shivers in fright and shakes his head again and again. Jun Shang, your handsome appearance is unparalleled in the world, your graceful bearing is unparalleled. How could a mere Tianguang ruins make you more handsome? You're clearly the most handsome in the world. Otherwise, how could Miss Jun be so infatuated with you? Di Mingju coldly lifts his foot and directly kicks him out. After kicking the man out, his cold and stern face finally revealed a trace of a happy smile. Yan Yan, Ben Jun can finally see you. Bang! Mayan doesn't know how long she has been falling, before she heavily falls to the ground. She clearly fell from such a high place, but she doesn't feel the slightest bit of pain. It's just that her head is still a little dizzy. After a long while, chattering sounds come to her ears from all directions. Is this little girl's first time coming to Tianguang ruins? A gentle voice comes to her ears. Don't be afraid, haha, whoever comes here for the first time wouldn't be thrown in this rebirth square. Look at this little girl, she's already 20 years old, but it's her first time entering Tianguang ruins. How pitiful. Sigh, look at her appearance. Even after 100% adjustment, it's still this lackluster appearance. How unsightly is her appearance? TSK, she must be an ugly monster in reality. Let's stay away, stay away. The chattering sounds come to Mayan's ears. She looks up and is stunned by the bustling scene in front of her. Rows upon rows of luxurious houses come into view, as well as streets and squares that are so clean and tidy that they're almost spotless. 8 or 9 out of 10 people walking on the streets and squares are handsome men and beautiful women. Each and every one of them is in high spirits and full of heroic bearing, forming a beautiful landscape. At a glance, these people's appearances can be seen to have been adjusted. Mayan even sees with her own eyes that a handsome young man, after eating a spirit fruit, throws the peel to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the peels disappeared without a trace. The reincarnation square, where she was, had the most people gathered. Most of the cultivators were focused on one spot. In the center of the reincarnation square was a towering tower that pierced through the clouds. At the top of the pagoda, there were huge screens hanging on all 4 sides, which were currently broadcasting the sparks flying between the cultivators. Ah, Mr. Yun Shao. Young Master Yun Shao. He's so cool. I'm going to faint. Young Master Yun Shao, I really want to see his face up close. Even if I have to work like an ox or a horse for him, I'm willing. Boo-hoo-hoo, thank you, Senior Zhao, empty cry soared. If he hadn't challenged young Master Yun Shao and asked someone to use the photographic talisman, we wouldn't have been able to see young Master Yun Zhao's celestial appearance so clearly. Mu Yan also looked up, only to see that on the screen, 2 figures, one black and one white, were fighting, sometimes intersecting, sometimes separating. Finally, a resplendent ray of light exploded between the 2 of them. The black figure retreated in a sorry state. Finally, he managed to stand up and spit out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1001. A cool breeze blew by, and it fluttered his silky black and smooth long hair to reveal a peerlessly handsome face that seemed capable of stealing one's soul away. Aw, 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 aw. Long live young Master Yun Shao. Young Master Yun Shao will win. Mu Yan is slightly startled. Ah, it's actually an old acquaintance. The peerless and charming youth in white before her, the young Master Yun Shao that everyone is shouting about, is actually the handsome man who was forced by Jiang Xinyu to marry that day in the Mirror Moon mountain range. She didn't expect him to be so powerful. If it was Mu Yan in this battle projected on the screen, she probably wouldn't even have the chance to take one move from him. TSK, with this kind of skill, Jiang Xinyu actually wanted to force him to marry her that day. Isn't this daydreaming? Perhaps this young Master Yun Shao could destroy the entire mountain-breaking sect with a casual flick of his finger. Suddenly, Mu Yan remembers the titles of those books she read in the bookstore in Qingli City. Something like 2 or 3 things that must be said between me and young Master Yun Shao, something like those years young Master Yun Shao pursued me. It turns out that young Master Yun Shao is this young Master Yun Shao. Looking at his restrained and refined appearance, she didn't expect him to be a dissolute young master, having an affair with so many female cultivators at the same time. Mu Yan smilingly looks at the handsome man on the screen, gossiping inwardly for a while, before turning to leave the reincarnation square. Walking through the entire Qingguang ruins, Mu Yan is increasingly amazed. Because this Qingguang ruins really is like a real small world. There were shops selling goods, restaurants for drinking and eating, and even a brothel, a casino, and a theater. Because only one's divine sense enters Qingguang ruins, the so-called drinking and eating, seeking pleasure, of course it's impossible to really eat things into one's stomach, or really profane those beauties in drunken pleasure square. But Mu Yan tries to buy a bottle of the most common fruit wine with a low-grade crystal stone. As the fruit wine enters her throat, her tongue truly feels the mellow fragrance of the wine. Even if she drinks too much, her body will feel warm. Even if everything here isn't real, the enjoyment that cultivators get inside is real. It's no wonder that Qingguang ruins is so prosperous. Map. She whispers, and a panoramic view of Tianguang ruins quickly appears in front of her eyes. The entire Tianguang ruins was circular. The lower 3 districts where Mu Yan is located are at the outermost layer of the circle and have the largest area. The upper 3 zones and middle 3 zones, which were closer to the center, were now gray, which meant that she couldn't enter these 2 zones. Mu Yan remembered eldest brother's instructions and softly said, "My shop." Very quickly, a red mark appeared on the map, flashing. This was the location of the Xiaoyao school's shop. Tianguang ruins was truly too mystical. Mu Yan followed the markings on the map while studying the other functions of the Tianguang ruins. For example, her popularity points were currently at 0 because she had not completed a single transaction. No one else knew her either. When he opened the inventory, there was only a crystal and a stack of talisman papers. Mu Yan played along the way and soon arrived in front of a shop. The sizes of all the shops in Tianguang ruins were almost the same. Only the degree of brightness of the signboards differed. Chapter 1002. The signboards of those shops that weren't doing well were dark and dull. Even if they were in the same row of streets, it would be very difficult to find them. Mu Yan raises her head to look at her own sex shop. The first thing she sees is a plaque that is dusty, as if it has accumulated dust for 10,000 years. Following that is the name of the shop that is almost covered in dust. Laozi is number 1 under heaven. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches, and twitches again. It would be strange if anyone would come to such an infuriating shop name. There's no need to ask, this is definitely the work of 4th sister Leng Yumo. It's no wonder that she had negative popularity points and was blacklisted by Tianguang ruins. Mu Yan turns her wrist and says, "Key." A key that looks almost exactly the same as Tianguang ruins' jade key appears in her palm with a flash. Even though she doesn't have any expectations for this shop. But when she opens the door and sees the scene inside, Mu Yan is still speechless. The whole shop is empty, not even a shelf. The only thing that can be seen is a broom hanging on the wall. The broom is also marked with 1 low-grade crystal. Mu Yan, who the hell would buy this damn broom? Announcement, district announcement. Tianguang Ruin certified user, Yin Xiao, has issued a district announcement, purchasing healing talismans and replenishing spirit talismans at a high price. Any shop in the upper, middle, and lower districts can participate. This announcement is valid for an hour. Now announcing the talisman purchasing locations in the upper, middle, and lower districts, Mu Yan is thinking about how to open the shop and sell the talismans in her hands. The sudden mechanical sound in her mind startles her. When she hears what the mechanical voice says, Mu Yan can't help but laugh. This is really a pillow when you're dozing off. No matter who this Yin Xiao is, she doesn't have to worry about whether she can sell the talismans in her hands as soon as possible. Mu Yan quickly rushes to the place to purchase talismans according to the announcement. She has already arrived fast enough, but she didn't expect that there would already be a long queue here. The people in the queue are still discussing excitedly. Yin Xiao, is it that master refiner Yin Xiao? I heard that a few years ago, he had just advanced to a rank 9 spiritual tool master. Refiner Yin Xiao, who is certified by Tianguang ruins. Besides this master, who else? Don't forget that Tianguang ruin certification has never been wrong. It's a pity that the healing amulet I have is only a 2nd-grade healing amulet. I'm afraid that even if I offer it up, it won't be able to enter the great master's eyes. It just so happens that our shop bought quite a lot of talismans recently. I'll give them to you right away. Who knows, I might even have the chance to obtain a spirit artifact forged by Senior Yin Xiao himself. Stop dreaming. The spirit tool forged by Great Master Yin Xiao is bound to be 8th grade or above. That's priceless. There are so many people in the upper and middle districts who want to curry favor with him with high-level talismans. How could it be your turn? Why do you think Master Xiao is in such a hurry to purchase healing talismans? Could it be that Master Xiao is seriously injured and can't be treated in time? Mu Yan smacked her lips. She didn't expect Xiao's background to be so great. No wonder he was so rich. He had heard that the Tianguang ruins announcement required a piece of mid-grade crystal. One piece of mid-grade crystal stone was equivalent to 1,000 pieces of low-grade crystal stones. Master Xiao actually sent 3 messages in a row. TSK TSK TSK, too rich. Little girl, which shop are you from? I haven't seen you in the lower 3 districts before. Chapter 1003. She had no intention of hiding and directly activated the jade key. Soon, the shop's information appeared in front of everyone. 1-star shop, I'm number 1 in the world, popularity, 0, because the popularity was too low, the words, I'm number 1 in the world, were very dim, almost indiscernible. However, the words, 1-star shop, and the popularity of 0 could be seen clearly. The surroundings were quiet for a moment, then a burst of laughter broke out. 1-star shop, popularity of 0. Damn, this kind of trash shop actually dares to participate in Master Xiao's talisman purchase, isn't it too shameless? That's right, what kind of person is Master Xiao? Don't tell me he would use trash talismans from a 1-star shop. Don't go for wool and come home shorn. If something happens to Master Xiao after using your trash talismans, you won't be able to repay him even if you die. Young lady, I advise you to go back, don't waste the time of the people behind you. As they spoke, someone pushed Mu Yan, wanting to pull her out of the line. Mu Yan casually grabbed the wrist of the person who pushed her and said coldly, "You want to fight?" She was clearly a delicate young lady, and her appearance was just passable. But when he met that pair of deep eyes, that person inexplicably shivered. What are you doing? Let go of me. That person only recovered from Mu Yan's threatening aura after a long while. Don't forget that fighting and killing is prohibited in Tianguang ruins. Although he knew that fighting was prohibited in Tianguang ruins, he would not be injured. But under the gaze of the young lady before him, he could not help but shiver uncontrollably. One must know that Mu Yan's murderous aura was tempered from fighting and killing thousands of soldiers and horses. How could an ordinary low-level cultivator withstand it? Next, come up. Just as the man's legs were trembling and he was about to pee, the sudden voice of the Yin residence's steward saved him from the hellish oppression. Mu Yan shook off the person and walked directly to the counter for purchasing talismans. The man looked at the young lady's back for a long time before recovering. Thinking that he was actually humiliated by an ugly girl, he was instantly enraged and shouted loudly, "A mere 1-star shop with trash talismans actually wants to form a relationship with Master Xiao. Why don't you see if you're qualified?" Mu Yan is about to take out the talisman. When the steward in charge of collecting talismans heard this, he immediately looked at Mu Yan with disgust and disdain. He waved his hand like he was shooing away a fly. Go. Don't be a hindrance here. Mu Yan frowned. Didn't you say that the Yin family was buying all the talismans in the whole district at a high price? We're not interested in the trashy talismans of a 1-star shop. The manager raised his head, revealing a fat face. Mu Yan's face darkens all of a sudden. The announcement says that all talismans with healing and replenishing functions are accepted, and all talismans in the upper, middle, and lower districts are allowed to participate. Where did it say that 1-star shops can't participate? Or could it be that the Yin family wants to go back on their word and not keep their word? As soon as Mu Yan's last words come out, the fat steward chokes. The announcement did not state that the one-star shops would not accept talismans. If he went back on his word now, it would harm the reputation of the Yin family and Yin show. The fat manager took a deep breath and sneered, "Fine, I want to see what kind of talisman you can take out, oh." Chapter 1004. As he spoke, he threw out 10 pieces of low-grade crystal stones. "These crystal stones, I'll treat them as a beggar, take them and leave quickly." Mayan doesn't even glance at the 10 pieces of low-grade crystal that he throws out. Instead, he leisurely took out a thick stack of talismans from the warehouse and slapped them on the table. In an instant, the surrounding area fell into complete silence. How can there be so many talismans? There must be more than 50 of them, right? My shop has been collecting talismans for a year, but I haven't even collected 20. Could it be that these talismans are fake? It's not working at all. The fat manager suddenly came to his senses. He frowned. "Don't think that you can fool us with a few pieces of talisman paper." As he spoke, he took a piece of talisman paper and placed it on the testing stone. Beep! The testing stone lit up, displaying the light of a first pin. The fat manager sneered, "Is this the only real talisman in this stack of talismans?" Moreover, he was a rank 1. Ha! Then, he picked up the second one, the third one. Drip, 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 drip. One talisman after another was placed on the testing stone, and each talisman made a sound of verification. The fat manager's expression changed from one of complacency to one of shock. Even if it's a first-grade talisman, isn't this too much? Moreover, after the 35 first-grade talismans, what the testing stone displayed next was no longer a first-grade talisman, but a second-grade talisman. There was another long beeping sound. The fat manager's forehead was already dripping with sweat. A whole 15 pieces of second-grade tincture. There was one last talisman left. With trembling hands, the fat manager placed the talisman on the testing stone. Beep! The radiance on the testing stone was twice as bright as before. It turned out to be a third-grade talisman. Third-grade talisman. There aren't many third-grade talismans in the entire lower 3 districts. Moreover, she even took out 35 first-grade talismans and 15 second-grade talismans. The last talisman that was tested to be of the 3rd grade made even Mu Yan reveal a surprised expression. This was because she had accidentally drawn the wrong talisman when she was drawing the 2nd grade healing talisman. At that time, she had already drawn the last few strokes. Mu Yan was a little reluctant to waste a talisman just like that. In her impatience, she instinctively mobilizes the Tian Mo Qin within her body. Using the sound of the zither to control the cinnabar brush, he forcefully corrected the wrong talisman pattern. After the talisman was formed, the talisman patterns on it seemed a little strange. It was different from the template left by the youngest uncle master. Mu Yan originally thought that this talisman should be a little inferior to an ordinary 2nd grade talisman. He didn't expect that not only was it not bad, it actually directly became a 3rd grade talisman. The fat manager's facial muscles kept twitching. Thinking of the words he just said to ridicule Mayan, he feels that his face hurts a little. Mu Yan takes a step forward, lifts her foot, and gently hooks it. The 2 crystals that the fat steward threw to her were thrown back in front of him. Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that is not a smile. "Now, can I pay the bill?" "Oh, that's right, for the sake of the steward's hard work in verifying more than 50 of my talismans, these 10 low-grade crystal stones will be considered as a reward for you." Mu Yan didn't say the words, "a beggar," out loud. But compared to what the fat steward had just said, everyone immediately understood the meaning of her words. Chapter 1005. The fat steward's complexion alternates between green and white. He only feels that everyone's mocking eyes are falling on him. As the Yin family steward, purchasing talismans, what kind of glory is that? What kind of fawning upon him? When has he ever suffered such humiliation? The fat steward wants to get angry, but he's pulled by his subordinate, Steward Wang. In a moment, Manager Yin will come over to inspect and collect the talismans. If the manager sees this and makes a fuss, it won't be good. Steward Wang's heart shudders. Even if he's gnashing his teeth in hatred, he can only restrain his resentment and give the crystals to Mu Yan. Because the Yin family is purchasing talismans at a high price, the price is higher than the market price. A first-grade talisman costs 5 low-grade crystals, a second-grade talisman costs 20 low-grade crystals, and a third-grade talisman costs 100 low-grade crystals. 575 low-grade crystals. Steward Wang takes out his jade key and touches it with Mu Yan's jade key. With a cold face, he transfers the 570 crystals. Okay, the bill has been settled, get out of here. Mu Yan glances at the information in her jade key, ensuring that more than 500 crystals have been transferred to her account. With a slight smile, she takes out 10 low-grade crystals from the inventory space and throws them in front of Steward Wang. This lady said, "This is a reward for you. Take it, no need to thank me." Saying that, she doesn't wait for Steward Wang to get angry and leaves in front of everyone's eyes. Steward Wang's nose is crooked from anger, especially when he sees the 10 low-grade crystals rolling in front of him. The sparkling light of the crystals is like the girl's mocking smile. Steward Wang, we still haven't registered that woman's information. The higher-ups have repeatedly instructed that they must register every shop's information. It's mainly so that if there's a need in the future, they can directly contact the shop that supplies good goods, instead of having to make a district announcement like now. Register my ass. Steward Wang fiercely slaps his subordinate's hand, gritting his teeth and saying, "Could this kind of trash one-star shop's things catch master's eye?" Saying that, he casually throws the dozens of talismans into the inventory and loudly yells, "Next." The subordinate hesitates for a moment but finally feels relieved. What Steward Wang said was right. No matter how many talismans a one-star shop in the lower 3 districts took out, how could it possibly attract the master's attention? It had to be known that there were countless people in the upper and middle districts who wanted to curry favor with the Lord and gain his appreciation with high-grade talismans. 2 hours was a very short time. Very quickly, the Yin clan's purchase of talismans neared the end. Alright, today's purchase is over. Everyone can go back. When Steward Wang saw that it was almost time, he immediately waved his hand to chase everyone away. How can this be? It's clearly not time yet. I've been queuing for an entire hour. I'm begging you, please take the talismans from our shop. Steward Wang repeatedly waved his hand, as if he was shooing away flies. I won't accept it, I won't accept it. It's just some trash talismans from the lower 3 districts. No matter how many I accept, it's impossible for master to take a fancy to them. Hurry up and get lost for me. Everyone was indignant, but because of Steward Wang's status, they dared not say anything. At this moment, a beautiful girl in white suddenly ran out of the crowd. Chapter 1006. But, I've admired Signorine Xiao since I was young. When I heard that he was injured, I was really worried and worked hard to draw up healing talismans. I came late. I beg you, can you give my talismans to Master Yin Xiao? I don't mind even if I don't want crystal stones. As she spoke, the crowd saw 2 sparkling tears fall from the girl's eyes, making her look even more pitiful. If Mu Yan was here, she would recognize her immediately. This pitiful beauty was none other than Lu Ruoxuan, who she had a conflict with at the Windless Plaza. Moreover, it was the Lu Ruoxuan who had changed her appearance and became even more lovable. Even the insufferably arrogant steward Wang softened his voice slightly under her sweet and soft voice. You can draw talismans yourself? What's your name? There were many talismans collected in the Tianguang ruins. But those who could draw talismans themselves were extremely rare. Lu Ruoxuan said shyly, I am Bing Ruowu. I am here to present the talismans on behalf of the earth-shattering shop. I just learned how to draw talismans, so I'm not good at it. I hope Manager Wang won't mind. The earth-shattering shop. Isn't that the shop of the mountain-breaking sect? Manager Wang was also very surprised. You are a disciple of the mountain-breaking sect. Lu Ruoxuan waved her hand modestly. I just became the disciple of the mountain-breaking sect's peak Lord Jiang. I haven't held the formal ceremony yet. I'm not a disciple of the mountain-breaking sect yet. Ha! Someone inhaled sharply. You're actually Elder Jiang's disciple. That Elder Jiang is the peak lord of the mountain-breaking sect's heavenly fire peak. Hearing the crowd's exclamations, Lu Ruoxuan's expression became slightly awkward, but she quickly hid it. In reality, the incident at the Windless Plaza had caused Jiang Dahai to dislike her, whose reputation had been ruined. After much difficulty, she managed to curry favor with the senior brothers in the sect, but because of this, she also offended the senior sisters. On the way back to the mountain-breaking sect, for some reason, the spiritual beast Golden-Winged Rock suddenly went crazy and threw them all into the swamp. The senior sisters of the mountain-breaking sect blamed Lu Ruoxuan's fate, and that she would affect the luck of the mountain-breaking sect. The group finally returned to the mountain-breaking sect, but Lu Ruoxuan was exiled. Jiang Dahai did not ask her to go through the ceremony of becoming his disciple, nor did he have the intention to let her enter the inner sect. She was like an outsider who didn't know what to do in the mountain-breaking sect. She was even looked down upon by her senior sisters. Especially Jiang Dahai's daughter, Jiang Xinyu, who wanted to humiliate her all the time. Fortunately, those senior brothers took great care of her and even brought her to Tianguang ruins to relax. Unexpectedly, Lu Ruoxuan happened to hear that Master Yin Xiu wanted to buy talismans. That was Tier 9 spirit weapon Master Yin Xiu. On the entire cultivation continent, how many people wouldn't know and yearn for it? Lu Ruoxuan's thoughts surged. She quickly returned to reality and retrieved all the talismans she had drawn before rushing back. Although he knew it was impossible. But what if her talisman was appreciated by Senior Yin Xiu? At that time, would her situation be completely changed? Thinking of this, Lu Ruoxuan's eyes lit up. She looked at Steward Wang with worship and longing. Steward brother, you look like a dignified and elegant person. I think only a person of virtue and prestige like Master Yin can be served by someone like you. Chapter 1007. Now that he heard this beautiful young lady praising him, calling him manager, and looking at him with admiration, he felt as if he was walking on air. He smiled as he took the talisman from Lu Ruoxuan's hand and placed it on the testing stone. Out of the 10 talismans, 7 were of the first grade, and only 3 were of the second grade. The light emitted by the testing stone is also far inferior to Mayan's talisman. However, Steward Wang smiled and said, with your age and cultivation, it's already very rare for you to be able to draw such a high-quality talisman. Lu Ruoxuan's eyes lit up, really? Elder brother Steward, you're not lying to me, right? My biggest wish in this life is to see Master Yin's heavenly face, even though I know this wish is impossible to achieve. However, Shang'er is already very happy to be able to present the talisman that I personally drew to Master Yin. Brother housekeeper, you don't know how grateful I am to you. Steward Wang's bones turned soft after being called Brother Steward. He squeezed out a gentle smile on his plump face and said, I've collected so many talismans in the 3 lower districts, and Miss Ming Wu's talisman is of the best quality. Don't worry, Miss Ming Wu, I will definitely convey your intentions to Master Yin. When the subordinate at the side heard this, he couldn't help but curl his lips. This steward Wang is lying through his teeth. The quality of that young lady's talisman is much better than this one. Moreover, it's a third-grade talisman. He actually said that the quality of this dancing icicle's charm was the best. The meeting hall of the Xiaoyao school. Junior sister has been gone for more than 2 hours, and she still hasn't come back. Looks like those talismans can't be sold. Sigh, it's normal that we can't sell them. No matter how good junior sister's talismans are, our shop's popularity is too low. No one will come to buy them. If I go to other shops to sell, I'll have to pay a lot of storage fees. Luo Yu held her cheeks and sighed faintly. With the storage fees, we can buy an entire wind spirit spore. Slurp. Leng Yuma slapped the table. Little junior sister, if we can't sell it this time, we'll go to the bazaar to sell it. We'll set off tomorrow morning. Before he could finish his words, the door was pushed open with a bang. Mayan saunters in. Junior sister, you're back. What about Tianguang ruins? Is it fun? How are the talismans selling? Did you sell 5 of them? Mu Yan shook her head. Sigh, it's fine even if I can't sell it. Yun Ruhan patted her shoulder. Tomorrow, senior apprentice brother will go to the market to sell them. These are precious talismans, you can definitely sell them for a good price. Little junior sister, don't blame yourself. Oh. You are already very, very powerful. Mu Yan interrupts them with a smile. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, I didn't just sell 5 of them, I sold all of them. As she spoke, she flipped her hand and took out the jade key. Then, she used her divine sense to explore it. The next moment, clatter, clatter, all the low-grade crystals were poured out. In an instant, they piled up into a small hill on the table. The room fell into a strange silence. Spar stones, why are there so many spar stones? Luo Yu exclaimed, little senior sister, these were all obtained by selling talismans. Mu Yan smiled and nodded, I sold all the talismans. Chapter 1008. Oh, we finally have meat to eat. Luo Yu smiles and pounces on top of the crystal, rolling around happily. Even Yun Ruhan is indescribably happy. How can it be exchanged for so many crystal stones? Mu Yan tells them about Yin Xiu buying healing talismans and supplementing spirit talismans at a high price. Fortunately, the 2 talismans that Master Yin Xiu wants, junior martial uncle left behind the drawing method. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to earn so many crystal stones in one go. Mu Yan picks up a crystal stone and tosses it, feeling somewhat regretful. It's a pity that junior martial uncle only left the drawing method for 1st and 2nd grade crystal stones. If we could draw 3rd grade talismans, we would really make a fortune. A 3rd grade talisman is worth 100 low-grade crystal stones. The faces of the Xiaoyao sect people twitch. They drew 200 or 300 talismans, but they couldn't draw a talisman. But in the eyes of their junior martial sister, drawing a 3rd grade talisman was as simple as eating and sleeping. People really can't be compared with each other. Leng Yuma waves her hand, full of pride, ha, no matter what, we have crystal stones now. Tomorrow morning, we will go to the market to buy a lot of meat. 6th senior martial sister, I want to buy a velvet doll, as big as a person. I've had my eyes on it for a long time, but I don't have crystal stones to buy it. Luo Yu holds her face and looks at Mu Yan expectantly. This concubine's rouge, face powder, and silk satin have not been replenished for a long time. Ling Yuxing strokes her hair, flirtatiously saying with a bit of pride. Chu Moli says with a matter-of-fact expression, I want to buy paint. Shiqing pounces over and hugs Mu Yan. Yan, my good disciple, don't mind these guys, master's wine is the most important. Mu Yan presses her forehead, dizzy from their quarrel. By all of them, is that not enough? She divides the crystal stones on the table into 8 portions. Apart from eldest senior martial brother Yun Ruhan who gets the most, everyone else, including herself, gets the same amount of crystal stones. Tomorrow, everyone will go to the market together and buy what they want. In addition to buying what they want, eldest senior martial brother will also help you buy daily necessities. Are you satisfied? After Mu Yan finished speaking, she raised her head and saw a room full of people looking at her with tears in their eyes. What? What's wrong? She felt goosebumps all over her body as she was being stared at by his gaze. Little junior sister, you're the best. No one has ever been so nice to us. Whoa, in the past, little martial uncle only made sure that we had enough to eat, and didn't even provide us with crystal stones for cultivation. 6th senior sister, you actually allow us to buy things we like. Little junior sister is the best, oh. Shiqing threw his head back and laughed heartily, his expression indescribably proud. This is all thanks to Master's discerning eyes for finding such a good seedling. Ha, I have good taste. Now this old man finally has wine to drink. Mayan was about to say something when Luoyu had already pounced on her and hugged her. He was so moved that he cried and laughed at the same time, wiping his snot and tears on her body. Mu Yan's whole body trembled. Seeing that Qin Jiu and Leng Yumo were about to pounce on her, she made a prompt decision and ran away in a flash. Leng Yumo missed and looked extremely unhappy. Shao Qi, it's all your fault. You scared my junior sister away. Chapter 1009. On the side, Yun Ruhan couldn't help but chuckle when she saw them fighting like a rooster. Then, she looked in the direction of Mayan's departure, her expression softening slightly. This junior sister is pretty good. Chu Moli smiled lightly, his fingers gently stroking the armrest of the wheelchair, and said in a low voice, it's still too early to say whether she's good or not. Ling Yuxing touched the embroidered pouch on his waist, and lowered his eyes to hide the light in the bottom of his eyes. Tianguang Ruins, Upper 3 Districts. While Mayan and the others were discussing what to buy tomorrow, talismans were being sent to the Yin family's residence in Tianguang Ruins. Tianguang Ruins allowed people to buy residences. Not only was it expensive, but it also required a huge amount of popularity. It wasn't something that anyone could buy if they wanted to. In an antique bedroom, a middle-aged man in his 40s was lying on the bed, coughing softly from time to time. He had a gentle appearance, but his complexion was very pale, and his lips were a greenish-purple. This person was the famous master refiner Yin Xiu in the Xiuzhen continent. At this time, he was holding a talisman in his hand. He operated his spiritual power, and the talisman immediately burned. A vigorous spiritual power poured into his body. When the talisman burned out, Yin Xiu slowly exhaled. His originally pale complexion seemed to be a little better. The chief steward, who was serving him at the side, happily said, Master, these talismans are indeed useful for your injuries. They don't accumulate pill toxins like elixirs. Unfortunately, the number of high-grade spirit-replenishing talismans and healing talismans that can be collected is really too little. In the Xiuzhen continent, elixirs below the 6th grade would generally accumulate pill poison in the body after taking them. The more they took, the more serious the accumulated pill poison would be. In the end, it would even corrode the cultivator's spiritual root, and from then on, their cultivation would advance instead of retreating. However, there were too few elixirs above the 6th grade, and Yin Xiu was seriously injured this time. He couldn't wait to find elixirs above the 6th grade, so he issued an urgent purchase notice in Tingguang ruins. Now it seemed that although the healing effect of this talisman was not as good as that of elixirs, it was still effective. In any case, Yin Xiu's life was saved. However, the talismans above the 4th grade collected this time have all been used up. The remaining ones are all low-grade talismans below the 3rd grade. Master, why don't I raise the price and go? There's no need. Yin Xiu waved his hand and said weakly, bring me the talismans below the 3rd grade first. When the supervisor heard this, he hastily ordered someone to bring over the box containing the low-level talismans. The effects of 1st and 2nd grade talismans were far inferior to high-grade talismans. Yin Xiu burned 3 sheets in a row, but his expression did not change in the slightest. He could not help but shake his head regretfully. Sure enough, the effect of a low-grade talisman and a high-grade talisman couldn't be compared. However, the drawing of talismans was different from refining medicine. The most important thing wasn't inheritance and practice, but talent. In addition, the effects of the talismans could not be compared to the pills. Therefore, the number of talisman masters was far less than that of alchemists. It was hard to even find a low-level symbol master, let alone a high-level symbol master. Even in a place like Tingguang ruins, which was full of talents, the Yin clan had only received a few dozen high-level talismans of grade 4 and above. While thinking, Yin Xiu picked up the next talisman. This was a 1st-grade talisman, and it didn't look any different from other replenishing spirit talismans. But when the talisman burned, Yin Xiu felt a wave of pure spiritual power flowing into his body. Chapter 10:10. Master, what's wrong? Is there a problem with these talismans? Yin Xiu shook his head doubtfully and picked up the next one. As the talisman burned, a stream of pure spiritual energy flowed into his body. These 2 talismans seemed to have richer spiritual energy than the 1st-grade spirit replenishing talisman. Could it be that he was imagining things? Yin Xiu burned a total of 10 1st-grade talismans and his complexion actually improved a lot. The steward said happily, I didn't expect that even 1st-grade talismans would be useful. Master is too kind. Yin Xiu held the talismans in his hand and seemed to be deep in thought. These 10 1st-grade talismans should have been drawn by the same person. The talismans drawn by this person seemed to be of much better quality than the others. Find all the talismans drawn by this person. Yin Xiu handed the talismans in his hand to the steward. Because the Yin family had to record the origins of all talismans, the talismans submitted by the same shop would all be distinguished by a special mark on the lower right corner. So after the talismans were collected, although they would be separated according to grade, it was very easy to distinguish which shop submitted them. However, when the steward took the talismans, he couldn't help but be stunned when he didn't see any mark on the lower right corner. Yin Xiu frowned and took all the talismans below 3rd grade and flipped through them. Sure enough, he found another 15 among the 2nd grade talismans without a mark. He also found one among the 3rd grade talismans. Just by looking at the color of the cinnabar and the outline of the talisman, he could guess that these 50 or so talismans should have been drawn by the same person. 50 or so talismans. The steward was speechless. Who exactly is this person? He actually drew 50 or so talismans and offered them to Master, and there's even a 3rd grade talisman among them. Yin Xiu chuckled. He wasn't surprised. With his status, there were many people in the entire cultivation continent who wanted to curry favor with him. Although the quality of these low-grade talismans was extraordinarily good, they didn't attract his attention. After all, no matter how excellent they were only 1st-grade or 2nd-grade talismans. Compared to high-grade talismans of 4th grade and above, whether it was spirit nourishment or healing effects, they were far inferior. Yin Xiu thought about it, took the 3rd grade talisman, and activated it with spiritual energy. He wanted to see if the third-grade healing talisman drawn by this person could compare to a fourth-grade talisman. The spiritual power burned the talisman paper, and the dark yellow talisman paper started to burn. In the next moment, Yin Xiao felt a cold spiritual power enter his body. Like a stream, it flowed through every inch of his burning meridians and finally gathered in his dantian. It was as if he could hear the sound of the zither flowing like water. Yin Xiao closed his eyes and sighed softly. The feeling of the stream flowing through his dantian was simply too wonderful. It was so wonderful that he wished he could immerse himself in this comfortable coolness and never wake up. However, the music stopped abruptly. The comfortable feeling disappeared, and a faint burning pain came from his dantian again. Yin Xiao suddenly opened his eyes, and his face was filled with a sense of loss. But then, he used his divine sense to explore his body, and his face suddenly changed. "Master, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with this talisman?" Yin Xiao stared blankly at the talisman paper in his hand that had already been burnt to ashes. He was speechless for a long time. Only when the steward was so anxious that he wanted to call for a doctor did he let out a light sigh and said, "I want to know which shop handed over these talismans. Quickly, summon the steward responsible for purchasing these talismans." Chapter 10-11. Under the dumbfounded gaze of the chief steward, Yin Xiao slowly stood up from the bed, revealing a rare smile. "When I was forging a 9th-ranked spirit weapon, I suffered a backlash. My meridians and dantian were burnt by the earth fire. I originally thought that I would need 3 to 5 years to recover. But that third-grade talisman just now actually healed the injuries within my body by 10%. Originally, Yin Xiao had only hoped to preserve his life by purchasing talismans in the entire Tingguang ruins. Next, he would slowly recuperate with medicinal pills. However, he did not expect that even with the help of a 7th-grade medicinal pill, it would take 3 to 5 years for the injury to recover. After using a 3rd-grade talisman, there was an obvious improvement. Unfortunately, there was only one 3rd-grade talisman. What if there were 3, 5, or 10 of them? Then wouldn't his injuries be completely healed and he would be able to refine a rank 9 spirit weapon again? Thinking of this, Yin Xiao was so excited that he couldn't control himself. When the head steward heard his master's words and saw that his bedridden body was actually able to stand up after using that 3rd-grade talisman, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Steward Wang was quickly called over. Chief Steward Yin threw the remaining stack of talismans in front of him and said with an unfriendly expression, "Why aren't these talismans marked? Didn't I tell you that all shops must be registered?" Steward Wang took the talismans and had a look at them. His face immediately turned incomparably ugly. Because he recognized at a glance that this was the talisman that Mu Yan had handed over. This is because, in the lower 3 districts, aside from Mayan, no other shop has been able to hand over 40 to 50 talismans in one go. But the problem was, at that time, he was filled with righteous indignation and did not let Mu Yan register the shop's information at all. Naturally, he did not make any marks on the talisman. It was just a piece of trash handed in by a 1-star shop. Why did the manager have to find it? Chief Steward Yin said coldly, "I don't care if you marked it or not, but now that Master wants to know the origin of these talismans, you'd better find out which shop these talismans came from. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out of the Yin family." On Steward Wang's forehead, fine and dense beads of sweat gushed out one after another. At this moment, he really hated Mu Yan to death. It was one thing to humiliate this woman in public. Now, he was about to be kicked out of the Yin family. The Yin family's treatment was so generous, and the position of the Yin family steward was so high up. If he was expelled by the Yin family, wouldn't he lose everything? Why did Master have to ask about that hateful slut's talisman? How good would it be if he were to ask about the talisman of that beautiful woman called Bing Ruo. He would be able to push this adorable little girl in front of his master. Thinking of her calling out, "Thank you, Steward Wang," coquettishly, Steward Wang felt as if his bones were going to melt. Suddenly, a bold idea flashed through his mind. Since old master asked about these talismans, he must have admired the person who drew them. Not to mention the fact that he didn't even know which shop that hateful slut was from. Even if he knew, how could he recommend him to old master? If that slut really won the master's favor, wouldn't she be the one to step on him in the future? No, he would never allow it. Chapter 10-12. Chief Steward Ian hurriedly asked, "Which shop?" "It's Mountain Breaking Sects, Mountain Breaking Sects, Mountain Breaking Sects, shop." Steward Wang braced himself and said word by word, "There's a girl called Bing Ruo Sanwo in the Mountain Breaking Sects shop. She's young, but she can already draw her own talismans. These talismans were drawn by her. She also said that she has admired Master since young, so when she heard that Master was injured, she offered all the talismans she had drawn. Because I admired her friendship with Master, I was so excited that I forgot to register. But I remember this clearly, I can't be wrong." Chief Steward Ian was too lazy to listen to the little girl's admiration for his master, and hurriedly said, "Go find her now, and ask her to draw a few more third-grade healing talismans. Tell her that as long as she can draw one more, the Ian family will be heavily injured. If she can draw 3 or more, Master agrees to give her a 6th-grade spiritual weapon for free." Steward Wang's eyes widened, cold sweat rolling down his forehead. "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" No, I'll do it now." There were many people going in and out of the Mountain Breaking Sects shop. Lu Ruoxuan sat in the shop, her expression sad and resentful. She still could not enter the inner sect of the Mountain Breaking Sect, nor could she formally become Jiang Dehai's disciple. Moreover, because Jiang Dehai's daughter, Jiang Xinyu, hated her, she could not stay in the Mountain Breaking Sect any longer. Bing Ruo Sanwu. Suddenly, a greasy voice sounded, attracting the attention of many people inside and outside the Mountain Breaking Sects shop. Lu Ruoxuan lifted her head, the worried expression on her face immediately turning into a fawning smile. "Brother Steward, why are you here? Isn't that Steward Wang of the Yin family?" "Yes, I saw him when we were buying talismans this morning." "Why is the steward of the Yin family looking for Bing Ruo Sanwu?" As the crowd discussed, Steward Wang strode in front of Lu Ruoxuan and smiled. "Our master is very satisfied with the talismans you drew, and hopes that you can draw a few more." Lu Ruoxuan's eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape, and she said in disbelief, "Brother Steward, you mean it? Did Master Ian really say that?" Awkwardness flashed across Manager Wang's eyes, then he smiled and said, "Of course it's true. Our master also said that he hopes that you can draw a few more talismans for him. If he's satisfied, he'll give you a 6th-grade spiritual weapon." "Ah! 6th-grade spirit weapon. Grandmaster Ian actually wants to give a 6th-grade spirit artifact to Bing Ruo Bingwu. Could it be that the Mountain Breaking Sect is going to make friends with Master Ian? I'm so lucky." Master Ian is a renowned master refiner in the entire cultivation continent. Even large sects in the Azure Blue Realm have to queue up if they want to order a spiritual weapon from him. The Mountain Breaking Sect was able to obtain a 6th-grade spirit tool so easily. They are really lucky. The surrounding people discussed among themselves, expressing their envy, jealousy, and hatred towards the Mountain Breaking Sect and Lu Ruoxuan. But the people in the earth-shattering and sky-shocking shop looked at each other and cast envious and worshipful eyes to Lu Ruoxuan. There were even people who directly left the Tianguang ruins to report to the elders of the Mountain Breaking Sect. Lu Ruoxuan had never imagined that she would be fancied by Master Yin Xiu. Chapter 1013. After Steward Wang spread the news, he was sure that everyone would know about it, and it would become an established fact. He then stopped smiling and said to Lu Ruoxuan, Bing Ruoxuan, Lady Wu, I have something to tell you about the talismans in private. W.H. What? Lu Ruoxuan exclaimed in disbelief, You want me to impersonate someone else? No, I can't do it. Steward Wang said in a low voice, Why not? You can draw talismans, and you're the disciple of mountain-breaking sect's peak master Jiang. How can you be worse than that trash from a one-star store? Lu Ruoxuan was panic-stricken, but I can't draw third-grade talismans. I've thought about this. Steward Wang gritted his teeth and said sinisterly, Third-grade talismans are difficult to draw. That woman only handed over one talisman, so it must not be easy to draw. If Master asks you for third-grade talismans, just say that you can't draw them for now. After some time, I'll collect more fourth-grade and fifth-grade talismans. Master will naturally forget about third-grade talismans. Lu Ruoxuan still looked anxious, but what if that person finds out and finds Master Yin herself? That trash from that trashy one-star store. Do you think anyone will believe that slut's words? Steward Wang gritted his teeth and said, I definitely won't allow that slut to appear in front of Master Yin. Don't worry. As he spoke, he looked at Lu Ruoxuan in a bewitching manner, If our master takes a liking to you, your future will be limitless. Even the mountain-breaking sect master will look up to you. Moreover, if you can draw a few third-grade talismans, you can even obtain a sixth-grade spiritual weapon. Are you really not tempted and want to give this opportunity to someone else? Lu Ruoxuan's heart thumped wildly. The struggle and hesitation on her face slowly faded, and she lowered her head in shame. But Steward Wang knew that she had agreed. Good child, that's right. Steward Wang caressed Lu Ruoxuan's smooth and tender face. Amidst Lu Ruoxuan's exclamation, he chuckled and said, As long as you insist that you were the one who drew those talismans, you will be able to make a name for yourself in the Tianguang ruins in the future. There will be benefits for you in the future. Lu Ruoxuan bit her lips and frowned as she watched Manager Wang leave. As soon as she walked out of the shop, she saw the senior brothers and sisters who had been indifferent to her warmly greet her. He had a flattering smile on his face, congratulating her for being chosen by Master Yin. Lu Ruoxuan gritted her teeth and threw away the last bit of shame in her heart. She said softly, I just drew a few talismans casually. I didn't expect Master Yin to take a fancy to them. However, it's great to be able to treat Master Yin's injuries. Overnight, Tianguang Ruins was in an uproar because Master Yin had taken a fancy to the talisman refining ability of the sacred dance of ice. Even in reality, many sects in the Azure Heaven realm knew about it. He envied the mountain-breaking sect for taking in such a good disciple. Jiang Dehai and the mountain-breaking sect's attitude towards Lu Ruoxuan took a 180-degree turn. They spread the news that the sacred dance of ice was Jiang Dehai's new disciple, Lu Ruoxuan. They could not wait to let the entire Azure Heaven realm know that the person who was chosen by Senior Yin Xiu was a disciple of their mountain-breaking sect. Lu Ruoxuan's status in the mountain-breaking sect naturally rose, and many senior and junior brothers surrounded her attentively. Chapter 1014. Of course, this is all in the future, and for the time being, it has nothing to do with Mu Yan, who is currently leading the free and unfettered sect people to go shopping. The small bazaar at the foot of Mount Tianxian is called a bazaar, but it's actually a small town. Although it's not as big as the green city of Minlujia, it can be said to have all the necessary things. As soon as they reach the bazaar, Luo Yu, Leng Yuma, and the others are like runaway horses, excitedly running away with the crystals. Even Qin Jiu says excitedly, I want to buy a broadsword. They excitedly rush to their destination. Shi Qing directly finds a tavern and burrows into it, refusing to come out again. Mu Yan smiles and shakes her head, no longer paying attention to them. She casually finds a bookstore and goes in. Taking it, she enters the bookstore. In the most conspicuous corner, she sees those books that make her scalp numb. Overbearing Yun Xiao Gongzi falls in love with me. Yun Xiao Gongzi's little sweet wife. Di Jun's pampering addiction. Di Jun, please take pity on me. Mu Yan, miss, these stories are all newly released, they're absolutely fresh and good to read. Seeing that Mu Yan has been standing in front of these books for a long time, the manservant can't help but come over to promote enthusiastically. The female cultivators in the surrounding villages like to buy books in my shop the most. If you don't believe me, you can buy it and take a look. In the past, Di Jun's stories were the most popular, but these days, the battle between Yun Xiao Gongzi and Empty Sword Senior Zhao made his reputation reach the apex, so the sales have already caught up with Di Jun's series. Miss, which one do you want? Mu Yan coughs lightly. Originally, she wants to say no need, but unexpectedly, she says, wrap it up for me. The manservant didn't expect her to be a big customer, and is immediately overjoyed. All right, this little one will wrap it up for you. Later, if you think it's good, you can buy it from me at any time. Mu Yan feels her face is burning. But since she has already bought it, she will no longer be bashful. Moreover, she is really interested in the gossip of the Shuzhen continent. In particular, the Di Jun mentioned in the stories always makes her think about it, and she can't help but want to see him. Taking the book from the manservant, Mu Yan graciously puts it into the space, and asks, are there any books related to 3rd grade and above refining pills and refining talismans for sale here? How is that possible? The manservant shook his head repeatedly. Miss, no matter which shop you go to, you won't be able to find any books related to alchemy and talismans. There are alchemy manuals below the 3rd grade. Even though Mayan had already expected this, she still shows a regretful expression. The manservant smiled and said, Miss, you are already the 3rd person who has come to ask about books related to talisman formations today. Ever since the news from Tianguang Ruin spread that the talisman drawn by Bing Ruo's Mao Wu had caught the eye of Master Yin Xiu and he would give her a 6th grade spirit artifact, everyone in the Blue Heaven domain went crazy. Everyone wants to learn how to draw talismans. However, drawing talismans requires talent. I advise you not to waste your time and energy. Even if I give you the relevant talisman books, you won't be able to learn it. Hearing this, Mu Yan smiled noncommittally, turned around and left the study room. Not long after he walked out of the study, a woman's scream came from not far away. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. My husband, please don't hit me anymore. I beg your husband, I know I was wrong. Sob, sob, sob. My husband, please spare my life. Chapter 10-15. She walks over and takes a look. In the middle of the crowd, a man at the 7th rank of body refining is beating a woman with a ferocious expression. The woman looks much younger than the man, but the spiritual aura on her body is so thin that it's almost non-existent. Her cultivation hasn't even completed body refining soul, so she looks even older than the man. At this moment, she's covering her face with her sleeves and crawling on the ground, enduring the man's beating, crying and begging for mercy. But the man is unscrupulously punching and kicking her, cursing as he beats her, smelly whore, broken thing, lousy works hard to earn money to support you. What's wrong with playing with 2 women outside, you actually dare to control lousy? Who do you think you are, a yellow-faced woman, eating lousy's food and using lousy's? It's already your fortune that lousy is willing to support you, but you actually dare to control lousy. Lousy will divorce you. Husband, I know I was wrong, I beg you, don't divorce me. The woman's voice is choked with sobs, and she doesn't care about the pain of being beaten. She hugs the man's leg and keeps begging for mercy, seeing that I served Granny well before she died, please don't divorce me, woo-woo. The surrounding people were discussing this scene. Some people think that this man is going too far in beating a woman. But some people think it's natural, especially the male cultivators. Mu Yan even hears the male cultivators whispering beside her, this kind of ugly woman hasn't even reached body-refining soul, if it was me, I would have divorced her long ago. Isn't it natural for men to fool around outside? She's just a useless waste, what qualifications does she have to control them? No wonder she's being beaten, I think it's a good beating. Many people actually agree with such remarks, and there are even some who jeer. As the man hears the jeering from the people around him, his face shows an insolent and complacent expression, and he beats the woman even more vigorously. Mu Yan frowns slightly, a cold light flashing in her eyes. She hates men who bully women the most. However, before she could make a move, a figure suddenly rushed out from the side. Grabbing the man's hand that's about to swing down, it blocks his movements. Everyone's eyes focus on it, and then they all reveal a stunned expression. Mu Yan is also surprised. She sees a tall and beautiful woman standing there, holding the man's wrist. She wore a golden hairpin and a cloth dress, had a slim waist and narrow hips, and every movement she made carried a hint of flirtatious charm. Who else could it be but her fifth senior brother Ling Yuxing? The man immediately flew into a rage. Spittle flew everywhere as he cursed, what the hell? How dare you control me? Before he could finish, the man looked up and saw Ling Yuxing's face. The anger on his face suddenly turned into lust and greed. Oh, so it's a little beauty. Little girl, if you want to meddle in my business, then let me sleep for one night. In the future, you can do whatever you want with me. How about that? As he spoke, he reached out to touch Ling Yuxing's face. Ling Yuxing's eyes turned cold as he exerted more force. My hand is going to break. The man let out a mournful scream. What do you want to do? The man glared at Ling Yuxing. Feeling the powerful pressure from his body, he was afraid and shouted in a threatening manner. Ling Yuxing's charming eyes contained a bone-piercing coldness. What I hate the most are men who bully women. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a cracking sound. Chapter 10:16. The hand that was being held by Ling Yuxing was actually broken. But Ling Yuxing still hasn't vented his anger. He kicks the man over, and directly starts beating him. He beats the man until he cries for his father and mother, rolling all over the ground. What's amazing is that Ling Yuxing is clearly doing such a crude thing. But between his gestures, he's like a young lady from a noble family, noble, elegant, and beautiful. Mayan is simply dumbstruck. Just then, the woman who was beaten half to death by the man suddenly climbs up. But she doesn't throw herself at the man who just beat her to take revenge. Instead, she throws herself at Ling Yuxing. What right do you have to hit my husband? Get lost, let go of my husband. I forbid you to touch my husband. This unforeseen event stupefies everyone. Ling Yuxing doesn't even have time to react, and is directly slapped by the woman. He stares blankly at the woman he just defended, only to see that her eyes are filled with tears, and she's fiercely glaring at him. There's no trace of gratitude in her eyes, only resentment. If anything happens to my husband, I absolutely won't forgive you. Soon after, the woman throws herself at the man's side, and cries while stammering, Husband, how are you? You mustn't have anything happen to you, or else how can I live? Whoa. The man holds his broken hand, wailing with all his might, unable to say a word for a long time. Seeing this scene, Ling Yuxing laughs at himself and turns around to leave. However, he's just taken 2 steps when the woman pounces at him again, grabbing his clothes. "You can't go. You injured my husband, you can't just leave like this, you must compensate me." Ling Yuxing's pretty face flushes red, and he shouts, "Let go." The woman is startled by his imposing manner, and her hand loosens slightly. But then she suddenly thinks of something, and she reaches out to grab his clothes, her face grim. "If my husband dies, how can I live?" "No, you can't go, you must compensate me. Everyone, come and judge, this person injured my husband, and even crippled my husband's hand, yet he refuses to compensate. If my husband can't earn money to support the family, what will I do in the future? Pay me money, you must pay me money." The woman knew that Ling Yuxing had a high cultivation level, so she had been very careful. However, as she tugged at him, she realized that he didn't fight back at all. Immediately, he wanted a foot after getting an inch, and the movements of his hands became bigger and bigger. Ling Yuxing's face was full of anger, and he raised his hand as if he wanted to push the woman away. However, he seemed to have thought of something, and his hand clenched into a fist in the air. In the end, he didn't swing it at the woman. In the next moment, there was a ripping sound, and the woman tore open Ling Yuxing's shirt. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not. Beneath the lapel was a fair, translucent, and flat chest. The woman was stunned at first, and even her hand froze. Then, with a face full of disgust, she screamed, "You're a man, my God, you're actually a man. A man is actually wearing women's clothes, how disgusting." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Ling Yuxing. Originally, when everyone saw a tall and beautiful woman rush out to defend the woman, they basically stood on her side. Later on, the woman didn't know what was good for her, and some people even pointed fingers at her and scolded her, feeling that this beautiful woman wasn't worth it. Chapter 10:17. Everyone was stupefied. "Everyone, quickly come and see." The woman was still pulling Ling Yuxing's clothes and shouting, "A man is actually wearing women's clothes, and even putting on makeup. Is there such a disgusting person in this world? Could it be that he wants to pretend to be a woman and seduce men? I've never seen such a shameless person in my life." Ling Yuxing's face was deathly pale. Especially when the onlookers' expressions changed from amazement to shock, and from shock to disgust. Everyone was pointing fingers at him and gossiping. There were even people who came forward, wanting to touch his chest to see if it was a man or a woman. Ling Yuxing only felt dizzy before his eyes. He wanted to run, he wanted to scream, he wanted to escape from everything. The scene in front of him reminded him of the past that he couldn't bear to recall. However, more and more people surrounded him. Because the woman had obtained the support of the onlookers, she also shouted more and more enthusiastically. The hand that was beaten black and blue by her husband and was powerless to resist was now rudely grabbing Ling Yuxing's hair, loosening his hair bun and even leaving a deep scratch on his face. The man whose hand was broken by Ling Yuxing also stood up and spat a mouthful of blood at Ling Yuxing. "Bah, I thought it was somewhere meddling in this father's business. I didn't expect it to be a monster dressed as a woman. When I think about how this father wanted to sleep with you, I feel disgusted." The woman was even more shrill as she shouted, "You little slut, don't tell me you came here dressed like this just to seduce my husband. You shameless slut, instead of being a good man, you came to seduce my husband like a transvestite. I'll beat you to death, you transvestite." Saying that, she actually grabbed a basket filled with rotten vegetable leaves and bird eggs from a nearby stall and threw it towards Ling Yuxing's head and face. However, the basket didn't fall on Ling Yuxing's head. The woman felt pain in her hand, and the hand that was originally holding the basket couldn't even lift it. Following that, the rotten vegetable leaves and bird eggs in the basket directly fell on her head. In a split second, her already embarrassed appearance became even more like a beggar. Before the woman could react to what had happened, she felt a sharp pain in her chest, and her whole body was sent flying. He fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. Mu Yan withdraws her foot that was aimed at the woman's heart. She turns around and arrives in front of Ling Yuxing. Ling Yuxing was already surrounded by people. There was the man who touched her chest and took advantage of her, and there was also the woman who scratched and insulted her. Ling Yuxing's cultivation was obviously very high, but he was surrounded and bullied by these people. He was bullied to the point where he was covered in cuts and bruises, but he was like a doll that had lost its mind and did not resist at all. A cold light flickered in Mayan's eyes as she took a step forward. He grabbed the man's hand that was touching Ling Yuxing's chest. Kacha, 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 the sound of bones breaking could be heard, accompanied by the man's blood-curdling screams. Mu Yan raises her leg and sends them all flying. As for those men, she was even more decisive. He grabbed the lapel of one of them and gave him a few slaps. Only when the man's vision blurred and his face swelled up like a pig's head did he throw him out. The whole place fell into a strange silence. Chapter 10:18. Mu Yan glares at him, and he shudders in fright. Mu Yan slowly hooks up a bloodthirsty smile. If you have the ability, why don't you try and touch my senior brother again? She's obviously a beautiful girl, and that face is even more beautiful and moving than when Ling Yuxing is cross-dressing. When it's funny, it makes everyone present shiver. Why is this girl's aura so frightening? He's such a monster, why would you help him? The beaten woman is unconvinced, glaring at Mu Yan. You can't be the same as him, a transvestite dressed as a woman, right? Ling Yuxing, who didn't even have the slightest reaction when he was humiliated, hears this. He suddenly lifts his head, his eyes red, and his body exudes a fierce murderous aura. You dare to slander my junior sister? Mu Yan pats Ling Yuxing, motioning him not to speak. Then she looks at the woman who spoke, sneering, whether I'm a man or a woman, what does it have to do with you? Am I hindering you from eating, or am I hindering you from stealing your man? Is it your turn to care? She turns back to look at the devastated Ling Yuxing, somewhat hating iron for not becoming steel, a motley crew. You can knock them down in 2 or 3 moves, why don't you fight back? Ling Yuxing's complexion is deathly pale, and after a long while, he says in a low voice, You should leave, don't get involved with me, it's not good for your reputation. Mu Yan interrupts him with a cold face, I asked you, why don't you fight back? Ling Yuxing lowers his eyes, his scarred body looks so lonely, as if it's about to collapse. Mu Yan sighs softly, and pulls his lapel, not willing to hit a woman. Ling Yuxing doesn't need to speak, just looking at his expression, Mu Yan knows that she guessed correctly. She sneers, unfortunately, people don't appreciate your kindness at all. These women belittle themselves from the bottom of their bones, thinking that women are naturally inferior to men, and that it's only right for women to obey men. Moreover, some people are so cheap, the more you hit her, the more manly she feels you are. He's also a man. The woman who had been beaten got up and screamed, he's a monster who likes to dress up as a woman, a disgusting monster. If you're with him, even if you're a woman, you're still shameless. Ling Yuxing's body swayed, subconsciously wanting to stay away from Mayan. Mu Yan doesn't have the slightest intention of avoiding suspicion. He directly grabbed him, ground the pill into powder, and smeared it on his face. He wanted to make sure that even though his pill was of a low grade, it was still effective on such ordinary external injuries. Mayan then looks at the woman who spoke, he's not a man, then the one who beat people like dogs is a man. Ha, if you want to be cheap, that's your business. Just don't come out and discuss people, okay? As a man, you are so useless that you only know how to hit women to vent your anger. One of you is a coward, and the other is a bitch. You really are a match made in heaven. It's best if you stay together forever and don't come out to harm others. Bitch, what did you say? How dare you call me a coward? Being insulted like this, the woman's husband can't take it anymore. He unsheathes the long sword at his waist and rushes towards Mayan. It's just that his cultivation strength isn't enough to scratch an itch for Mayan. Not even one round of fighting, the man has already been knocked to the ground, howling in pain. Chapter 10:19. This time, it's not only his wrist bones that are broken, but several of his ribs are also broken. But he won't die, he's just in so much pain that he hovers between life and death. The man's eyes turn white, he spits out a mouthful of blood, and passes out in a split second. You killed my husband, I'll fight you. Slut, return my husband. Seeing that her husband has fainted, the woman's eyes immediately turn red, and she pounces towards Mayan with bared fangs and brandished claws. Unfortunately, Mayan doesn't have tender and protective feelings for women like Ling Yuxing. She directly swings a big slap. With a flick of her wrist, the 7 Absolute sword appears in her hand. She points it at the woman's heart, revealing a bright and languid smile. What, you want to fight me? You want me to return your husband? The woman feels the bone-chilling killing intent of the 7 Absolute sword, and her whole body suddenly trembles like a sieve. There's no trace of the aggressiveness she had when she was settling accounts with Ling Yuxing just a moment ago. She just keeps begging for mercy. Don't kill me, I don't dare anymore. Hoo. As she speaks, a stench comes from her lower body. She's actually scared to the point of peeing. Mayan sneers and directly kicks the woman away, no longer paying attention to her. Some people may seem pitiful, but pitiful people must have hateful aspects. Her own spine has already been bent, her self-esteem has already been abandoned, and she doesn't even know where her conscience as a human has gone. You kindly save them, but you'll be dragged into the abyss instead. No one can save such a person, and Mayan has no interest in saving them at all. She turns her head and points at Ling Yuxing's head, raising her small face to lecture. Fifth brother, there's no distinction between men and women in this world. Sometimes, women are more poisonous than snakes and scorpions. Can't you grow a little more in the future? When you meet a good woman, you like to help others, and it's fine if you help them. But when you meet this kind of ungrateful woman who can't even figure out her own mind, and likes to put the blame on others, why do you care about them? Just let them die. Ling Yuxing stares blankly after being lectured, and he can't come back to his senses for a long time. But even though he was being lectured by his junior sister in such a rude manner, he felt warmth and peace of mind that he had never felt before. There's also a slight smile at the corners of his eyes. Little girl, if this young master is your senior brother, you should guide him to the right path. Instead of letting him continue to be a monster that is neither male nor female, isn't that right? In the crowd, a middle-aged man in his 40s spoke in a seemingly fair and kind manner. As soon as he said that, the surrounding people immediately began to discuss spiritedly. That's right. Men chasing after men is the right path. He was a man, but he had to dress up as a woman. If he wasn't a monster, what was he? He might even be sick. We treated him like this because we wanted to lead him to kindness. What did we do wrong? Little girl, you are still young, so there are many things you don't understand. If he continued behaving like this, he would be ridiculed by others in the future. If you get together with him, your reputation will be ruined by him. In the future, which man would dare to want a woman like you who hangs out with a monster that's neither male nor female? Ling Yuxing's face, which had just regained some color, once again turned deathly pale. His eyes were filled with shame and pain. He had deliberately built up his pride in front of Mu Yan and the Xiaoyao sect. At this moment, it was as if everything had finally fallen apart. Chapter 1020. His junior sister's face is frosty, and he can't tell whether she's happy or angry. But Ling Yuxing knows that he has implicated his junior sister. His junior sister has just come to the Shuzhen continent. Maybe she didn't understand before, but she will eventually. When she understands, she will hate him, despise him, and want to stay far away from him. Instead of waiting until then, it's better for him to stay far away. Avoid his junior sister, and also avoid the other people in the Xiaoyao school. Ling Yuxing bites his lower lip, and he doesn't even notice that his lower lip is bleeding. He lowers his head, and wants to leave quietly. Just then, he hears his junior sister speak. Hee, I don't know if my fifth senior brother is a man or not. I only know that when he saw injustice, he had the guts to stand up and help when he saw injustice. But you? All of you hide in the corner and watch the fun. My senior brother has a principle of not hitting women, but what about you? Each and every one of you is dignified, but you only know how to hide in the corner and talk about other people's maggots. What qualifications do you have to criticize my senior brother? Whether he likes to wear men's clothes or women's clothes is none of your business. The middle-aged man who spoke first has an extremely ugly look on his face. I'm reminding you out of kindness. Little girl, you don't know what's good for you. Which sect are you from? Mayan sneers, what does it have to do with you? Good, good. Since you're so arrogant, I'll teach you a good lesson on behalf of your master. After the middle-aged man says that, a mace suddenly appears in his hand, and he strikes it at Mayan. Be careful, junior sister. As soon as the man's spiritual power is activated, Ling Yuxing feels the strength of a rank 5 abstinence. His face suddenly changes, and he rushes over to push Mayan away. However, before he can make a move, the 7 absolute swords in Mayan's hand suddenly shine, and she fights with the middle-aged man. A quarter of an hour later, the middle-aged man crawls on the ground, vomiting blood, and can't get up for a long time. His face is full of horror. He can't believe that he lost to a little girl. Who are you? How can a little girl less than 20 years old have such a powerful strength? The 7 absolute sword in Mayan's hand draws a gorgeous arc, and her cold and mocking eyebrows look at everyone around her. Is there anyone else who wants to argue with me? If you have any complaints about my senior brother, feel free to tell me. I don't mind having a good chat with you. The crowd was silent for a moment. Suddenly, someone screams in horror, she's June Mayan, the female devil that appeared in Windless Square, June Mayan. Ah! Don't tell me it's that demoness June Mayan who wiped out the Ning family and even went on a killing spree during the sect selection, causing the nephew of a Li Fire's sect elder to die tragically under her hands. Ah, are you guys crazy? He actually offended this female devil. Run! Run! If we're late, we'll be dead. In just a short period of time, the surrounding people had all fled, and even the fainted man had been dragged away. The breeze picked up the rotten leaves on the ground and gently rolled them over. It was a very desolate scene. Mu Yan touches her nose, speechlessly muttering, "What massacre, female devil? Am I that scary?" But she didn't know. Chapter 1021. In the entire Azure Heaven realm, there are already many people who know about the female devil June Mayan. Especially those who are watching in the square, most of them are rogue cultivators. Therefore, this news isn't spread very widely among the sections. But when the rogue cultivators of Azure Heaven realm hear June Mayan's name, they are all scared like mice seeing a cat. Mayan turns around and looks at Ling Yuxing. Seeing that he's staring at her dumbfoundedly, she can't help but touch her nose. What? You also think I'm very scary? Ling Yuxing shakes his head like a rattle drum. But then, his eyes carry a trace of apprehension and shame. Junior sister, you really don't think I'm a different species, a monster? Mayan takes a step forward. Do you think you're a different species, a monster? Ling Yuxing shakes his head, his face revealing a mournful expression. I just naturally like to be a woman. But the reversal of yin and yang, this is wrong. Such a me is a different species, a monster who brings shame to the clan and the sect. Mayan sneers. Who stipulated that yin and yang can't be reversed? Who stipulated that men can't like to wear women's clothes? Is it a heavenly rule? Even if it's a heavenly rule, it's still too broad. What's more, heavenly Tao has never stipulated that yin and yang must match. As long as you don't think you're a different species, not a monster, you're not a different species, not a monster. Why do you care about what other people think? Don't tell me that other people can live for you. Ling Yuxing listens blankly, a faint smile slowly appearing on his pale face. He looks at Mayan with faint envy and worship in his eyes. It's not that he envies her for being a woman and having that kind of stunning appearance. It's that he envies her for being able to live so freely and freely, as if the gazes of others and the pressure of public opinion simply can't shake her mind in the slightest. Fifth brother, have you bought anything? Ling Yuxing shakes his head. He was just about to go buy it when he ran into that accident. Mayan tugs at his messy hair and smiles. Come, junior sister will take you to the silk and satin shop to dress up. Otherwise, if you go back like this, you'll scare big brother and shout Chi to death. Ling Yuxing stares blankly. Before he could come back to his senses, he has already been dragged forward by Mayan. He subconsciously said, I want to buy that heavenly silkworm snow robe with a phoenix wearing a peony, and that red jadeite eyeshadow. I'm not interested in the other cheap goods. The corners of Mu Yan's mouth twitched. She regretted it. Was it too late to get rid of this fifth senior sister, who loved to be pretty and showy? Ling Yuxing grabbed her arm and intimately pulled her forward. Even though his entire body was battered and exhausted, he still revealed a bright smile. After the two of them left, a figure in crimson clothes slowly came out of a shop in a wheelchair. Looking at Mu Yan and Ling Yuxing's departing figures, Chu Moli's gaze didn't shift for a long time. He gently caresses the armrest of the wheelchair, softly murmuring, Jun Mayan, junior sister. Chu Moli's expression slowly became complicated and hard to understand. His slightly drooping eyelashes seemed to be concealing some sort of emotion. Old third, so you're here. I have been looking for you, for a long time. You. What happened to you? Why is it so messy here? What happened? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure. Oh.